Yes, we're currently recording. So that being said, I think I'd like to call to order now SFSS Council meeting on Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024 at, oh boy, 4:39 p.m. We start off with the territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and are currently situated on occupied territories. We can now begin the roll call right away. I can start off with archaeology. And currently, I don't have the entire list of regrets in front of me at the moment, so I apologize if I go over someone who's not here. Archaeology does not seem to be here or in the chat. I'm gonna move on to Bachelor of Environment,
Sorry,
Student
present.
Union. Beg pardon?
I just said present.
Thank you very much. My bad. I am asking for Bachelor of Environment, Student Union. Okay. Environment seems to be absent. Behavioral Neuroscience, Student Union.
Hi everyone, my name is Arthi and pronouns are she, her. My access needs are all met. I'll just be remaining in the chat for the rest of the meeting. And I'll just have to leave at 6:30 today. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you very much. Next up is Biology, Student Union. Do we have biology? It seems we do not. Next up is Biomedical Physiology and Kinesiology, Student Union.
Liam, BPK submitted regrets.
BPK submitted regrets? Thank you very much.
Yep.
I got it. Next up is going to be Business Administration Student Society. Inside of the chat, thank you very much. We'll be leaving at 7 p.m. today. Got it. We'll try to move things along as soon as possible. That was Business Administration. Right. So next is going to be Chemistry Student Society. Do you have chemistry? Hannah? I will be taking that as a no, so then I'm going to move on to Cognitive Science Student Association. Do we have cognitive science? I'll take that as a quiet no. Next up is Computing Science Student Society. Inside the chat, thank you kindly. And then it's going to be Criminology Student Association.
Hi, my name is Henry, pronouns he, him, and all my access needs are just fine.
Wonderful. And then it's Data Science Student Society.
Hi, my name's Jennifer, she, her, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Cool. Earth Science Student Union. Inside the chat, thank you very much. Economics Student Society. Rafid, economics. Okay, this will be a no. Next up is Engineering Science. Oh, inside of the chat. Thank you. Fantastic. Next up, Environmental Science Student Union.
Grayson Bark here, he, him pronouns. All my access needs are met. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm going to move to Geography Student Union. Do we have geography in the room? It seems we do not. I will move to Health Science Undergraduate Student Union.
Hi everyone, my name is Ishika, pronouns she, her, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you very much. History Student Union, I remember, has submitted regrets today. Let's take a look at Indigenous Studies Student Union.
Evan Achitola, he, him, all my needs are met.
Very good. Thank you very much. And then it's Mechatronics Systems Engineering Student Society.
Hello, hi, my name is Vatsal. All my needs are met and I use he, him pronouns. I will be representing mechatronics instead of Aiden today. And yeah.
Understood. Thank you. MBB Student Union.
Hi, my name is Sam. My pronouns are he, him, and all my accessibility needs are met. I'm just in the exec office with Nancy and Io, so I believe we're going to be speaking through one computer.
Thank you very much. Next is going to be Philosophy Student Union.
She has sent regrets.
Regrets? Understood. Next up is Political Science Student Union. Alaya, Political Science? It seems not. Okay, then it's Science Undergraduate Society. Let me take a look. She might have also sent regrets then. Next up is going to be Society of Arts and Social Sciences. Rajda? It seems that this is also going to be a no. I'm going to move on to Sociology and Anthropology Student Union. Andre Sosa? This will have to be another no. I've been told that Science Undergraduate Society is going to be joining late. I'll make a note of that. Right now I'm going to move on to Software Systems Student Society.
Hey, my name's Tal, pronouns he, him, all my needs are met.
Excellent, thank you very much. Statistics and Actuarial Science. Oh, Sasa have just made their intro in the chat. Thank you very much for that. Let's look at next one on the list. Right, Sustainable Energy Engineering.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew. My pronouns are he, him, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you very much. And then it's going to be World Languages and Literature Student Union. Are they here? I don't think so. Moving on to constituency groups, starting off with Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance. I see them in the chat. Thank you very much. First Nations, Métis, and Inuit Student Association. Also in the chat. Thank you very much. Students of Caribbean and African ancestry.
Hi, my name is Yai, pronouns she, her, and I'll most likely be using the chat for the remainder of the meeting.
Thank you very much for that. Affiliated student groups time, starting off with Residence Halls Association. Emmanuel, RHA.
Just join the room now.
They just joined the room? Got it. Emmanuel, are you here? RHA can put their intro in the chat whenever they would like to. For now, I'll go on to Teach Support Staff Union. I see you in the chat. Thank you very much for that. So SFP IRG. Julie.
Yeah, SFPERG present, to be in they, she pronouns, all access needs are met.
Thank you very much. All right, starting off, then going on to exec committee, starting off with myself. I'm here, he, him, his, access needs are just fine. Acting VP internal.
Hi, Ashley here, they, she pronouns. All my access needs are met for today.
Nice. VP finance mentions he might be late.
Liam, I am here. Liam, I'm here. Jad Bolino, VP Finance, access needs are met, and looking forward to this big meeting today.
Nice, thank you very much. Do we have VP University? Thomas, VP UAA? This looks like a no.
In chat, Liam.
Oh, never mind. You're right. I see it. VP external.
Hi, my name is Nancy, pronouns she, her, and my access needs are met, but my iPad might die, so I'll be on either Sam's or Io's laptop.
Cool. VP equity.
Hi everyone, my name is Priyanka, pronouns are she, her, hers, and access needs are met.
Thank you. And then VP events.
Hi everyone, name's Aya, pronouns he, him, his. All my access needs are met, and Nancy is currently echoing to my PC. So, yeah.
Understood. Thank you very much. Going to society staff, temporary operations organizer.
Sindhu here, pronouns she, her, hers, access needs are met.
Very nice. Policy research community affairs coordinator. Looks like a no. Chat's empty as well. So admin assistant. Oh, I see an intro in the chat. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, then we have regrets. A few other people have also submitted regrets. They need to be added on. Oh, thank you very much, Samar. And we can take care of this inside the consent agenda right now. So firstly, be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. Moving to ratification of regrets, be it resolved to ratify the regrets from, look, can we check if all the things inside this? Yeah. All the names that Samar mentioned, they match up with the list I've got. So be resolved to also further ratify the regrets of all the names Samar has mentioned inside the chat. So philosophy, history, counselor, mechatronics, systems engineering, political science, science undergraduate society, biomedical physiology, and kinesiology for today's council meeting. I don't really think there's anything else for consent agenda. Seeking unanimous consent. There is no dissent. Passes unanimously. And then, I apologize. Did someone say something?
Yeah, sorry. I just want to move to strike the motion, the notice of motion to repeal the issues policies, please.
Oh, that doesn't quite happen in consent agenda yet. This is an adoption of the agenda.
Okay, sorry, on my bad.
All right, let's go there now. Adoption time. I move. Would anyone care to second? I heard events first, so event seconds. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Now, is there any discussion? I'm looking at Evan. You are the first on the list.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a motion to the agenda and I will put it in the chat.
Okay. Am I reading this right? Motion to investigate Grammarly subscription for SFSS membership. This is very interesting. Okay, first of all, I second it. Unless you're adding anything else, I don't think you are. I gonna seek unanimous consent to adopt this amendment. It looks like there's no dissent. This is added on. Very nice. Let me look at the second list. It would be Ashley.
Hi, Liam. I would like to move to strike. Oh, give me one moment. I would like to move to strike 10.1 on the basis that it is out of order, as you did not consult with FMISA as is required, nor did you consult with any other constituency group or equity-based group as is strongly recommended. Not only that, but you also bypassed both the Equity and Sustainability Committee as well as the Governance Committee in recommending this motion to Council. And as such, I would like to strike it until such time that you bring it to both equity and sustainability. Yeah, I move to strike that.
Equity seconds this motion.
I hear equity seconds. We're gonna go for unanimous consent on this one.
You open the floor for discussion first, Liam.
Hi, Chip, point of order. Can you use your discretion to allow students to speak to this motion first, as allowed, after Ashley and VPES?
We could, but if it's
We could.
if it's quite a unanimous to strike it, we could speak about it when we get to the Q&A session. We have a lot of people willing to speak today. We could always talk in that section, but if it's the common interest to strike it, then I suppose we could do it now. Oh, hold on. Let me try to keep the. There is a lot of lists in the chat at the moment. Okay, so looking for unanimous consent. I don't really see any dissent. Which
Liam, there's a
motion
lot
is
of
moving
lists
to?
that you're skipping.
I cannot tell if they're for the adoption of the agenda or if they're for the.
amendment.
They will be for the amendment.
Abby marked it.
Okay, okay. Could you help me find the first one?
That'd be neat.
Okay, Io, you can go ahead.
Okay. I'm just going to preface this as the VP events talking. I'm just using Nancy's laptop. And I fully believe that a lot of the issues policies have been written up in a manner that has been very offhanded and very fly by the seat of your pants, in the sense that, like, in relation to, and this particular removal of the IPs came in relation to a read over of IP 10, which was specific to the conflict between Israel and Palestine. And that is a major issue because we have had Jewish students come and argue that the definitions of anti-Semitism are not fully covered within this issues policy. With all that being said, I do not fully believe that all the issues policies should be struck, but I definitely believe that there is a need for them to be reviewed. And I'm sorry, Sarah, I'm not ignoring anything. I'm not trying to ignore anyone. I'm being anti-Semitic. Interesting. Anywho, I fully believe that a lot of the issues policies were drafted without the proper consultation of various groups, because if it was drafted in consultation with, for example, Jewish Hillel, they wouldn't have complained about the definition of anti-Semitism, because they would have been involved in the formation of the definition of anti-Semitism. So while I understand both sides, while I understand Liam's point of view that the issues policies do tend to do more harm than good if they are not properly. Why I do believe the notice of motion that the issues policies, that if I do believe that, so much going in the chat. While I do believe that the drafted notice of motion was made with good intent, I do believe that there is a necessity that it's too early for us to go simply scorched earth with this. And we should review the issues policies, see if there's any worth saving, see if there's any that can be rewritten to properly reflect the needs of the student body as a totality. Because, and this is speaking as an exec, I have received emails of Jewish students complaining that they have been exempted from various services simply because there was a fear that it's going to clash with that issue policy. And I feel that's an issue that has to be addressed in conjunction with this. I just don't feel that this might be the right way to address it.
Thank you, Io. Ashley, I see you have a direct response.
I do. I just wanted to make very clear that the SFSS has not and will not stop Jewish students from using our services upon that basis, according to IP 10. I just wanted to make sure that was very clear, as I said, that while there are students claiming that we have stopped students from booking a room, that did not happen. And I want to make that very clear. that it did not happen. We have Jewish students are, we are not an anti-Semitic organization, and we are more than like, we support our Jewish students just as much as we support our Palestinian students. It's very important that we do not discriminate against people on the basis of race. And the SFSS is, we are firmly in support of our anti-racist issues policy, and we have not discriminated on we have not discriminated against Jewish students on the basis of them being Jewish. Just to make that very clear.
Next, I believe should be Priyanka.
Yeah, so I want to echo what BP internals said when striking this motion. It was out of order. IP4 disability justice, IP7 indigenous student inclusion, reconciliation inclusion, and IP8 anti-racism state that RCGs are to be consulted. And none of that was followed. Additionally, in past meetings, I know it's been highlighted that what is the purpose of issues policy? So I do want to take a moment to highlight the role of issues policies, given the current rhetoric of that they introduce bias. Having no stance is not the right option as society, because if we don't stand for something, it can be claimed that we're standing for everything. Our governance system is through election from our membership. We're required and we need to represent the views of our membership. Many of these issues policies were born through consultation with our student groups and concerns they've raised. And additionally, sometimes there was notice that our issues policies are inherent. That's not true. In the past, we have a issue policy on tuition affordability. In the past, there was a student exec that did not want to make tuition affordability a priority for the year, but because IP3, I believe it is, hold us accountable to that, students were able to advocate and push their board to add review budget increases and ensure that they were advocating for student interests. They allow us to make meaningful change. The IP6 on climate justice and sustainability, and SFSS's decision to divest from fossil fuels in 2022 was also great and central in advocating SFU to divest from fossil fuels as well, which they did in 2023 with the goal by 2025. It holds us accountable to our promises to the student union, including, I know in previous council meetings, TSSU strike was brought up. We have a policy supporting living wages and union rights that ensures that one, SFSS staff are also allowed to uphold their rights as a union and don't feel pressured to follow the society's order to show up. It ensures that they're able to follow their union rights, and it also allows the board to take a stance and support TSSU. And this, if issues policy aren't there, it doesn't provide guidance for future boards to know if they're allowed to get involved in that or if there's been interest of it for the past. So essentially, there is a lot of uses for the IPs. It's not inherent. They provide guidance. We have a transitioning board every year. So if we don't have our stances clear when new boards come in, they can wipe past efforts and work done by our student groups. Sorry, I took up a lot of time. I'd also like to move that CG board elects and executives also have the same speaking priority order as counselors, given they were not consulted on this motion.
MBB seconds.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a sound move, but I'm gonna look for unanimous consent for that one really quickly. I don't suppose there's going to be any dissent for that. Okay. Now that that's established, let me take a look. All right, there's one hell of a long list of lists, and we haven't gotten a whole lot done yet. I think I'm gonna go take Sam's list, then SF Perk's list, Nancy, and I believe I should cut it off there. We can discuss some more later on at the actual motion times or in the Q&A, but Sam, first of all, go ahead.
Liam, just to be clear, this is striking the motion entirely. This is removing the notice of motion from the agenda right now. So there will be no discussion later on because the motion you put on to discuss IPs will have been removed from the agenda now.
No, I completely understand that, but we can always talk more in Q&A session. I just want to get to the actual motions first because we got some people or waiting solely for that. That's all.
Sounds good. I am fully in favor of striking this. I fully agree with what Priyanka said. I talked to her beforehand. It does not follow our commitments to Indigenous communities. It doesn't follow our commitments to DNA, and it doesn't follow our commitments to SOCA. So we can't do this. It's just not the right thing for us to be doing.
Understood. I think I'm going to move to SFPERG now. SFPIRG. I don't see anything in the chat.
Oh, I want to yield my time to students.
Beg pardon? All right, I'm going to move on to Nancy.
I just yielded my time to students. We voted on allowing students to speak, and then I'm yielding my time to students who are present here and who listed to speak today.
Okay. Nancy, would you still like to have a list?
Yes, I would. I'll just make it quick so that students can talk, but I think Adriana just put into the chat point of order, so I'll let you handle that first.
Point of order by Adriana. Yes, go ahead.
Seated time takes precedence over the speakers list, and as such, said seated time of 2 minutes given to, as the SFPERG counselor expressly declared, non-executive, non-counselor students who are on the speakers list must be honored before the existing speakers.
I guess we could make that work. Abby, have you kept track of the first non-counselor people to make
It
a
was
list?
Levi. After that, I'd have to go up and check again. But Levi was the first one that I saw as far as the amendment goes.
Levi, if you are here, would you like to make a list?
Hey, yeah, I'm here. I just have a thing that can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Hi there, my name is Levi Mimko, and I'm the faculty rep for the Archaeological Student Society. I'm speaking today because I'm against the motion to repeal all the 12 of the issues policies. This mass repeal would undermine and dismiss all of the hard work of various groups that has been undertaken in the last few years to create policy protection of the rights of students, including specific marginalized communities within our school, including Palestinian students. From what I'm hearing and reading, the repeal of these issues policies may be happening with the veiled intention of repealing one policy in particular. This is issue 10, the Palestinian Liberation Issues Policy. This policy protects students in their advocacy for a free Palestine, which means an end to Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories, an end to the oppression of Palestinians by Israeli forces, and an end to the genocide that is currently happening in Gaza by the state of Israel, in which Canada is complicit. Repealing these policies would result in the further marginalization of Palestinian students, their families, and those who stand in solidarity with them. I would also affirm that supporting a free Palestine does not in any way constitute anti-Semitism, and Jewish students have the right to request an issues policy of their own. This motion puts multiple oppressed groups in our school at risk of further marginalization and undermines the rights of all students who deserve affordable tuition, a living wage, climate justice, and other rights laid out in the issues policies. In my experience, the world does not afford equality to all, despite rhetoric to the contrary. Power and privilege exist in all societies, and to pretend that we are all equal with equal needs is a straight up lie. These issues policies acknowledge the imbalance of power that exists, and they are important for student advocacy and struggle. Without them, the groups that they represent will be pushed back in their efforts, and those with more power will move forward in theirs. If there is a desire for equity in the space, then the motion will be struck down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Abby helping me. He tells me Ali would be.
Liam,
Wait, no, my
just a
bad.
quick
There's
point
a
of
point
order.
of order. Yep.
With the motion that we gave, it gives specifically constituency group counselors speaking rights over like people who are members of the constituency group execs, same speaking rights as counselors. So while we should go through everyone who's on the list, we need to prioritize the ones who are members of our constituency groups, which are based on the agenda, if I can pull it up. SOCA, DNA, FMISA, out on campus, and I think that's an affiliated student group. But those 4 groups, if you're an exec on those groups, can you put it in your name? Just to make it easier for everyone?
Abby will need help sorting that. I definitely need help sorting that out.
Yeah, sorry, I'm struggling a little bit too. I know Adriana listed for sure. I don't know if, hold on, I have 4 names I think I put in the chat. If any of them are CG executives. So there's Ali, who I think is 350, which is not. Elise, I don't know if you are part of a CG.
I'm not.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. I think Adriana's probably the next one. So if they can go, then I can try and sort things out in the meantime.
Okay, Adriana.
Great. Can everyone hear me all right?
I can hear you.
I think there are 2 facets to what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the IPs more broadly and the implications of their removal. And I want to talk about the direct core of where this is really coming, which is IP 10, both of which I have many thoughts about. Let's read through the IPs, because let's understand the action of removing an IP is very different from an IP having never existed. If we are to remove these, we are explicitly saying that these are not the stances of our organization. We are not moving to a neutral stance. We are actively making the choice to move away from these stances. And that is the explicit language of what that means. So I'm going to read to you the titles of the first 9 IPs. IP 1, reproductive rights. The SFSS is a that's not the key line. We are explicitly a pro-choice organization. The SFSS supports the provision of non-judgmental information on sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights, discourse regarding sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights, and information to access safe, publicly funded health services. That's IP 1. IP 2, Black History Month. There's a bit of history on Black History Month, and the intention of the SFSS proactively supporting and celebrating Black History Month, led by Black students and groups, education and awareness and solidarity with self-liberation efforts of Black and African people, educators and students embedding Canadian Black history into post-secondary institutions, recognizing Black people in areas outside of solely racism and social justice, and celebrating Blackness year-round, Black student representation and empowerment in student governing positions, and so forth. I'm now going to proceed to IP 3, tuition affordability.
Oh, Adriana, I might have to cut you off after 2 minutes.
Very well. I should be about a minute in.
All right, then.
The SFSS supports the university implementing a tuition freeze and subsequently lowering tuition for students. Notably, at this point, I'm just going to interject that say that that is something that this organization mere months ago unanimously agreed upon in conversation, along with other associated things. IP 4, disability justice. The SFSS supports anti-ableism, anti-oppression, intersectionality and anti-essentialism, disability justice, equitable access and treatment, freedom from discrimination, and so on and so forth. IP 5, living wage and union rights. That should be pretty self-explanatory. IP 6, climate justice and sustainability. The SFSS supports Indigenous sovereignty and self-determination. We are advocating for SFU to commit to principles of the UNDRIP and commit to certain calls to action that have been laid out, some of which has been enacted. IP 7, Indigenous inclusion and reconciliation. Just because I'm running out of time, I will start running through these quicker. IP 8, One second. Very wonderfully thorough. IP8, anti-racism. That should be fairly self-explanatory to all who are at this meeting. And finally, before we get to the real subject of this meeting that I will let others cover, and I will at some point list again, IP9, opposition to police militarization. Given this context, I want everyone to know that if we are repealing these issues policies, it means that the official stance of the SFSS would be against all of these issues policies, reaffirming that we no longer stand by those beliefs, and as such, that indicates that we endorse the opposite, because that is how this works. We will talk about IP10 further, but with that, I am done.
Sounds good.
Sorry, Liam, here, I can help out for a sec. I don't know if Erica is a CJ Sec. I believe Vivian is for sure. Erica, I don't know if you are.
I'm not.
Okay, Vivian, I believe you are, yes? Or I don't know if you're using chat, sorry, but Vivian could go next. I think they're the next CG exec in chat.
Vivian, are you?
Exec, so I would have to go after.
Sorry? Oh, okay, yeah. If you're not an executive, I think we'll have to circle back. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go back to me.
Okay, is Jordana, or sorry, Yale first. Is Yale a CG executive?
I'm not.
Okay, and lastly, is Jordana a CG executive?
I'm not.
Okay, I think we just have to go back to the beginning of the student list then, that we were already doing. So we had Levi, and then who were we supposed to have next? Yeah.
Ali.
Can you guys hear me / see me?
I can see and hear you.
Okay, awesome. My name is Ali. I'm an executive with SFU 350. We're essentially a club on campus organizing for climate justice. I'm speaking today in quite utter mystification as to why the motion was brought forward in the first place, with no comprehensive plan for replacing them and no consultation done with the student groups these are concerned with. Or why I even have to be here during my break to help prevent this from happening. But that just goes to show how much, with all the folks here, how much we actually care. But each and every single one of these issues policies is important to me, but because of time, I will speak to how this decision will affect SFU 350 particularly. As some of you might remember, in the fall of 2021, we launched our climate emergency declaration campaign. Some of you might remember the large mural we painted in the Convocation Mall during that time. SFU 350 unfortunately ended up being hit with some student misconduct charges from the university, and the SFSS actually stood in solidarity with us and pressured the university to drop the charges, and that's exactly what happened. We successfully did that with SFSS's support by our side. SFSS also covered mural damages, any damages associated with the mural, though we used quite a fair paint on that. So regardless, this is largely because of the issues policy you have on climate justice and sustainability. Having support from our student union in the pursuit of climate justice is crucial to us, and what we've been able to accomplish has been made possible with that kind of support. And we want to continue this good relationship with the SFSS, but you risk tarnishing this if you repeal all of these issues policies, not just the climate justice and sustainability one, especially because we were not consulted about repealing all of these issues policies. As well, I would hate for years of student activism and solidarity to be undone by just this one action and one person, quite frankly. SFU 350 will also just lose trust in this organization completely, and I'm sure that will also follow with other groups that this motion affects. And I do want to emphasize, SFSS is a student union, and a portion of our tuition funds this organization's operations. If I'm paying you to represent me and my peers' interests, please do so. Striking these issues policies is anti-student. Lastly, to each and every single undergrad, if you think you do not benefit from any of these issues policies, that is completely untrue. Regardless of your identity, you stand to lose something from the removal of all issues policies. And because they encompass a range of issues that impact us, from as previous counselors have said, tuition affordability, disability justice, climate justice, and more. So please, I beg of you, do not remove these issues policies. Thank you.
Understood.
Okay,
I believe
sorry,
Elise
Liam.
will speak after Alan.
Yes, I missed her. So my apologies, Elise.
That's okay. Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Thanks so much for this opportunity to speak. I'm an undergrad student and a criminology major, and I'm very deeply concerned about the motion to repeal all the issues policies. I want to start by providing a bit of background on myself. I'm a returning student. I was first at SFU in 2008 to 2010. and ended up leaving to go to BCIT and then worked in communications and event production for over a decade. I lost my job at the very early stages of COVID, and which led me to start reevaluating my passions and what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Throughout my career, I began working on behalf of several different Indigenous organizations, which helped me change my perspective on many human rights issues throughout the world. I started seeing things for what they were and how generational trauma can affect everyone. Once I started the journey of unlearning and relearning through a different lens, one that is not based in white supremacy and privilege, the pieces began to fall together. This is exactly what has led me to be here today. Throughout my career, I had to work with politicians and powerful people, even though I regularly opposed their views and actions. I put aside that inner voice because I thought progressing my career was more important. The SFSS has a responsibility to ensure the safety of each and every student on the campus and in virtual spaces. Right now, Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim students are facing extremely difficult times, as are Jewish students. The IP10 outlines how to keep these students in a safe environment where they are able to share with their classmates and teachers how they have been directly affected by what is going on. Many are too scared to even speak today because of the risks they are facing. As a cis white woman, I must use my privilege to speak out. Each of us have our own unique stories, and many have had to face extremely traumatizing events, I'm sure. The IIP was created with care and focus on specific communities, whether it was they were part of the 2S LGBTQI community or any other racialized community. It would be beyond irresponsible to remove it during a time of crisis. Speaking as an elder millennial, I've been constantly amazed at how this next generation behind me is standing up for what's right in many different ways on all sorts of issues. The fact that we even started these meetings with line acknowledgements, pronouns, and access needs is beautiful and something that never would have happened in my first time at SFU. Progress like this is necessary in a democratic institution. I hope that those of you on council realize that striking the IP will set a very dangerous precedent, one that we will all look back on in shame. This is about the future. This isn't a frivolous decision, but one that could have very dangerous effects on students. Not only Muslim, Arab, or Palestinian, but for every single student, including Jewish students. Don't be like me and wait till you're in your 30s to look back on your life and realize how much you personally contributed to perpetuating racist and damaging rhetoric. You have the power right now to stand up for what's right and be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe Erica would be the next on the list. Is
Hi.
Erica here? Hello.
Yes, hi, my name is Erica, and I'm an undergraduate student and member of the Health Sciences Student Union. I'm speaking because I'm extremely concerned about the motion to repeal all issues policies, and I would like to highlight 3 points on why I call on the SFSS Council to strike against this motion. Firstly, the SFSS issues policies protect equity, justice, and student advocacy at SFU. These are important values to an engaged and safe SFU community that must be protected. Second, the attempt to appeal SFSS issues policies is undemocratic. It lacks consultation with all the student groups impacted and involved with developing the policies, as well as the student groups that voted in favor for them. Therefore, the SFSS is not representing its constituents by taking these actions, the proposed actions. The issues policies have been developed over years with careful and intensive consultation of affected groups. Appealing it would effectively undo years of student activism and negatively impact the marginalized communities that these policies support, something that speakers before me touched on. Third, this comes at a time when support for IP10 and beyond is especially relevant. The ongoing genocide in Gaza has killed over 20,000 Palestinians. Student unions such as McGill, U of T, and UBC have joined the global solidarity movement with Palestine by adopting pro-Palestine policies. In light of the current events, it is urgent for SFSS to support Palestinian liberation by calling for a ceasefire and calling for ending SFU complicity to genocide, and most certainly not removing the policies currently protecting Palestinian students and supporting Palestinian liberation. Thank you.
Thank you. Vivian is the next on the list. Is Vivian here?
Yes, I'm here. It just takes me a while to navigate. I'll just speak out loud, that's fine. My name is Vivian. I'm an SFSS member. I gave feedback to the Disability Justice and Accessible and Equitable Events Issues Policies during the consultations with the SFU Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance, which I'm a member of and a past exec member of. I call on my representatives on council to strike and condemn the president's undemocratic motion to repeal all SFSS issues of policies. Now, the issues policies include important commitments to all students, ensuring that the SFSS is fighting for affordable tuition, better course materials, and accessible events. They also outline specific commitments and actions that the SFSS takes on for human rights and equity issues, as they also affect SFSS membership. Some of these actions will, by nature of changing widespread conditions in society, be political, and that's okay. The SFSS as a union should not shy away from that responsibility. Please remember that you are in fact a union. Unions are political bodies. This is why every year councillors, as our reps, lobby governments on municipal, provincial, and federal levels. Unions around the world, whether they be representing students or workers, have been using their collective voices to fight for our rights for decades. That's what unions are for. That is what the SFSS is for. In protest to this undemocratic motion, a letter has been sent by current and past FSS members, including authors and community members who were involved in the original creation or endorsement of the issues of policies established by the SFSS from 2019 to the present. This letter was to demand council to strike this motion. I will read a portion of it out loud, and I will also link to it in the chat. So, the SFSS issues policies were written collectively by past SFS board and council members, constituency and marginalized groups on campus, with heavily consultation of affected community members, which includes the Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance, Students of Caribbean African Ancestry, SFU 350, Women's Center Collective, Out on Campus Collective, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit Student Association, SFU Students for Justice in Palestine, and Tuition Freeze Now. These policies clarify the SFSS stance, calls to be in solidarity and take action on oppressive issues affecting its most marginalized members. It is the SFSS mission to advocate for students, build student power, and provide resources and services that represent, connect, and benefit our membership. That is a quote of the SFSS mission. The SFSS cannot adequately represent and serve its members, especially its marginalized members, if it does not take stances, have a clear understanding of the issues affecting its members, and have a clear guideline on how to take action on it, guided by the lived experience of its affected members. The issues policies clearly lays out this knowledge and serves as this guide. If the SFSS Council decides to repeal the issues policies, it is sending a clear message to the SFU community that it is anti-Palestinian liberation, anti-Indigenous, anti-Black, anti-feminist, anti-climate justice, anti-student affordability, anti-union, and ableist. So that's a portion of the letter. I will also link to it in the chat. This is back to me speaking, Vivian speaking. By attempting to repeal the issues policies wholesale with zero consultation of affected groups, the president is indeed taking a political action. It is a political action against human rights, against equity, against justice. As a student, I'm frankly disgusted that we are even having this conversation in the first place. I expect better from my representatives. Reject this undemocratic motion to repeal the issues policies. Remember your responsibilities as our reps to take action on issues that affect your membership, and remember your responsibilities as a human being to take a stance against genocide. Thank you.
Look at the Abby, would Yale be the next on the list?
Yes.
Yeah, looks like it. Okay then.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Yael. I'm a Jewish student at SFU, one that the SFSS is obligated by Council Policy R5 to represent equally and to not discriminate against. I want to specifically reply to Ashley's comments earlier in the meeting, where they stated that the SFSS did not ban students from SFSS services, which is completely untrue. In February of 2023, the Jewish Students Association was banned from booking a room in the sub for an anti-Semitism education event, solely due to the fact that the JSA did not use the IP10 definition of anti-Semitism, one which the JSA had no input in its creation. The definition within IP10 does not represent the lived experiences of the entire Jewish student body. It neglects anti-Semitism that Jewish people face due to the conflict in today's day and age. This is the most common type of anti-Semitism we experience today. That being said, criticism of the Israeli government is not anti-Semitic, but using thousand-old stereotypes such as the money-hungry Jew and denying our history is. I hope that Council can take a nuanced view towards this definition, listen to the Jewish SFU community, and have the SFSS rewrite the definition within IP10 to reflect our lived experiences. As Jewish people, we have the right to define the hatred we experience, not executives who will never and will never experience anti-Semitism in their lifetime. Thanks.
Thank you. It seems like Sumaya would be the next on the list.
Can I take my direct response, Leo?
My bad, I did not see that.
All good.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that it would be very terrible if we referred to Jewish people as, quote, money hungry or any other kind of terrible pejoratives that are quite anti-Semitic. And I'm very much so against doing so. I think we should avoid said language. I think we should be very specific in how we criticize Israel on its actions to ensure that we are not being anti-Semitic and that we are criticizing the political actions of a government and not the religious actions of people. I would like to point out that that is outlined in IP10, where we explicitly define the distinction between what we believe to be Zionism and in the sense that we are criticizing political actions, not religious ones. To speak specifically to the instance that you're referring of when GSA wished to do an anti-Semitism tabling event, you were not denied. You did inevitably, I believe you're Hillel exactly, though please correct me if I'm mistaken here, but you did end up, Hillel did end up going to SFU for a tabling and not with the SFSS, but not because—
It wasn't tabling, it was an anti-Semitism education event.
Thank you. My mistake. I had forgotten. Yes, room booking. You did book a room with SFU and not with SFSS, but not because we stopped you from doing so. I believe we had some suggestions, but by no means was the issues policies invoked to ban you from booking a room for that event. In fact, we encouraged you to do so, but you sought other options. I was heavily involved with those negotiations, so I feel fairly comfortable speaking to them. Yeah, no, I figured I would just make sure that that was clear.
It was specifically stating that our definition, because it does not align with that at the SFSS, we can't. It's basically saying that Jewish students have no right to define the hatred we experience, and for that, I strongly disagree with you, respectfully.
Yeah, that's not what we told you. To be
That
clear, we
was-
said
it was
while
that
our
it-
definition, I still have my direct response. You are out of order for speaking, just to be clear. Yeah, your definition is different from ours, and I'm terribly sorry that proper consultation was not done with you in the creation of IP10. But our definition by no means endorses anti-Semitism, and Hillel has yet to show us how. And you are more than allowed to book the room. I want to make that clear. We never stopped you from booking the room because of a definition. That would be silly. That's all.
I see another direct response from Deanna Short in the chat. I guess I'll take this one, but then I don't want a direct response chain, so we'll stop it at that. And then there's still quite a few more let's take down. Deanna, are you able to talk at the moment? Just to be clear, 2 stars mean a direct response. Oh, yeah, they have a don't have a mic, so just gonna type here, hello was present. The council meeting where we discussed and passed IP10 and was consulted along with many others. Felt that was necessary to point out. Okay, thank you. Who is on the next? Who is next on the list?
Sorry, who just went? We were at either Sumaya or Jordana, I think.
I remember. Yeah, it's Sumaya. Is Sumaya here at the moment?
Hi, yeah, I'm here. Hi, my name is Sumaya Tufel. I'm the president of the SFU Slam Poetry Club, and a TEDx SFU 2023 speaker and international studies major. I also support striking the motion of the issues policies. Before TEDx in November, I was targeted by a small group of students because I support the Palestinian people who are facing genocide according to United Nations experts. They attempted to remove me as a TEDx speaker as my topic ironically talks about my experience with Islamophobia. I reached out to a professor in the IS faculty who believes setting up a meeting with the student union president would be helpful. Unfortunately, it was not. On December 1st, I met with Liam and my professor in a Zoom meeting to share my experience. Before I got the opportunity to tell my story, Liam brought up his mission to remove the issues policy, stating it was divisive. Our meeting had nothing to do with that. I began questioning his reasoning for this, and I found his answers inadequate and uneducated, particularly as this is my area of study. Sadly, in my department, we'll be studying this genocide in the future and how people and institutions reacted to it. It is our responsibility as humans to support all people that face genocide, apartheid, occupation, and human rights abuses, especially when there are people working hard to justify genocide and when our government is complicit in it. We have students at SFU who are Palestinian and who have had their family members murdered by the state of Israel. If you are uncomfortable with the diversity of SFU students and their experiences, then you shouldn't have leadership positions in the student union. Repealing the issues policy and not standing with Palestine is a grave injustice and does not represent the majority of the student body. Thank you.
Hey, Liam. Evan called the motion into question. So he called for a vote of, called the motion to strike into question.
All right, then. I don't really see a point going through roll call. I think we can go for unanimous consent. Most of this is on the page. Right, yeah, I'm seeking unanimous consent. This is for the striking of the notice of motion. There's no dissent. This
Liam.
adoption. Yes.
Sorry, you have to seek unanimous consent on the call of the question, because that has to be a vote out of its own, and then you can seek unanimous consent to remove.
Oh, right.
10.1.
I get what you mean. First of all, I'd like to second that, and then I'll seek unanimous consent on the call to question first.
I dissent.
That's not a counselor, Liam. Don't worry.
Yeah, I
Only
understand.
counselors are allowed to vote.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right then. There's no dissent on that, so now we're officially calling it to question. I am seeking unanimous consent once again on the striking of the notice of motion. Well, once again, I don't seem to be receiving any dissent. I can now consider this to be safely struck. Let me take a look. I see you have a point of order.
No, that was just for the. That was just for the call to question motion.
Okay then. Okay. I believe, would we still be even taking lists at this point?
Well, we've called the question, so we're going straight to a vote on the removal of IP10. Or sorry, not IP10, sorry, the 10.1 motion. My apologies. I'm mixing up my
Right,
10s.
but
Wait.
it's already been
No,
done.
we just voted on the motion, on like the striking of the motion, and it was in favor to strike.
Yeah.
Oh, my apologies.
So
We're
that's
back to
why I
adoption
think,
of the agenda. People can list to amend stuff onto the agenda.
right.
I
Chad,
believe we do have
you
an
had
old
an
list.
amendment at one point. Chad?
Sorry. Yes, I can just type it into the chat. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Want me to type it in the chat?
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh boy, let me copy and paste it one more time. Bear with me.
Okay then. Time.
Gonna be
Actually,
a
I think
bit
I can.
more of a. Oh my goodness! Wow. Sorry, bear with me.
Hey Liam, can I take my point of
This
order
would
while
be a
Chad's
bit.
typing?
Yeah.
I just wanted to
This would be
remind
a
you that
bit.
there was quite a long speakers list, and I don't believe Jad was at the top of it for adoption of the agenda. You can definitely skip to Jad if you wish, but I do recommend quite strongly that we do get to all the counselors and students who listed before I moved to strike.
I don't know what's going on, but I was next to speak, so I'm a bit confused.
Oh, if we were going to, if you're one of the people who are waiting to list for the striking of the notice of motion, at one point it was called to question, and basically calling to question means the list is, we're basically cutting it short. We're skipping further lists, no more further discussion. We are going straight to vote. And that's what the whole little thing that we did with the seeking unanimous consent to strike the notice of motion, and then it was all voted in favor. So
I'm a bit confused because you only had one Jewish student speak and everyone else wasn't, so I don't really think that that's okay.
that is, first of all, my sincere condolences for that. That's not the intention of it. But it was already 5:42 and we had to cut the list at some point. And we're not even on the actual motions of the agenda yet. We're still on the adoption of the agenda.
I posted my motion in the chat. Just want to confirm that there.
I see it. First of all, I'd like to second it. Looking for unanimous consent to adopt this amendment. Okay. And getting no dissent here. We can add this on as well. All right. Let me take a look.
There's a point of information, I believe.
From Evan, I see it. But
No, Adriana.
oh, that's point of information. You're right. I kind of explained question. I don't believe I need to do that. So I'll take Adriana's point of information.
I just wanted to once again state for the second time in this meeting, but people seem really quick to erase that fact. Not one, but two Jewish students spoke. I am very proudly Jewish, been raised Jewish my entire life, and wanted to very clearly clarify, yes, two Jewish students have spoken.
Okay.
I was actually after Yael though. So if you look up, it was Yael and then me. So that's just I'm a bit confused about. But okay, whatever.
Someone had called the question.
Yes. Oh, Abby, you got a point of order?
Yes, sorry, I just wanted to clarify, just so everyone understands exactly what's happening here. So we had our discussions there and we had our list. Someone called the question, so that meant even if you were next on the list, unfortunately, we moved on. Now our current speakers list, and this is why this is taking me a second here. I have to load more messages constantly to see who was at the top of our old speakers list, because the old speakers list is now the new speakers list. So if you listed earlier and we didn't get to you in terms of like before we moved on to this amendment, we're trying to get to you now. So my apologies. I'm trying to scroll and keep things as organized as possible. So you're just gonna have to give me a minute to get that list of names. I had it there for a second, but I wanted to give a quick point of order just so everyone understands that right now 10.1 has been struck and we're currently looking at, yes, it's been officially struck and we're looking at, oh, sorry, yes, let me clarify for the sake of accessibility, my apologies. 10.1 is the issues policy removal. I don't think I need to read it out loud, but essentially that motion, notice of motion has been removed. So if it were to be brought back, it would need to go through the notice of the motion process again, and then it would go to new business. So it would take at least another 2 meetings if someone wanted to bring it back, for example, or it can just die on the floor here. Either thing could happen. So sorry now, give me a minute to find who is next. I believe it was Erica.
Thank you for the picture, V. Yeah, I'll believe the picture. Erica?
No, sorry, Sam was actually higher up on the list. Like Sam was right before Erica.
Let me try to
This-
scroll up and see.
We were on the list from the very beginning of the meeting. I had listed
Sam
after
listed
Ashley.
right after Ashley. So the current order, give me a minute, would be
Sorry, I missed Sam, my bad.
Erica, Sumaya, Veem, Beck, Joel Galani, Jad, Natasha, Arwa, and that was when we started the discussion on Ashley's motion.
I'm confused. Would Sam be next on the list or not?
Yes, Sam is next, sorry.
All right.
Sam, then Erica.
Got it. Sam?
I'd like to preface this by saying, sorry, two computers in the same room. I'd like to preface this by saying that the motion to remove, sorry, there's a double negative here, so I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. The motion to strike all issues policies, to remove all the issues policies, was just removed in the adoption of the agenda. Just for everyone's clarity, it has been removed, in case anyone was wondering. Now we are moving on to the section where further items are being added to the agenda. So we are not speaking on the amendment, we're adding further items to the agenda. That's a section of the meeting we're in right now. If you have further questions, there's a Q&A section and within the various motions of the agenda. My motion I will add to the chat. It is to prevent it. The motion is to have any further changes to issues policy go directly through the equity and governance committees as to prevent a situation like this happening again, where a executive unilaterally brings issues policy changes to council.
Oh,
Internal
check.
seconds.
All right, internal seconds. We're gonna go for unanimous consent with this one. Seeking unanimous consent right now, by the way. I'm receiving no dissent for this one. All right, we'll be adding this one on. This is a motion. Okay, good. Boy. Sam, then Chad as counselors would take precedence. Then Eric has some mind. Okay, then. I believe Chad had already went.
Yes, I actually went previously to make an amendment to the agenda. If I listed twice, I apologize. I retract my second list.
Okay. And then let's take a look. Erica wants to be removed from the list. Sumaya says that she already went. To fail. Okay. I'm on the same page as you guys now. V, if you are here, I believe it's finally your turn for the list. Where are we right now? We are still on the adoption of the agenda. If you have any new motions or whatever amendments you'd like to add to the agenda, now would be the time to do so. I'm not getting anything. So let's take a look at who's next.
Can I talk a bit later? May I go back to the list? May I go back to the list? Can I talk a little bit later?
Oh yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Okay. Abby says next is Beck, then Joel. Let's take a look. Yeah, all right then. Beck, if you are here. Would like to remove himself from the list for this. Joel?
Hi, my name is Joel. I use he and him pronouns. I'm calling in from the lands of Muslims, Commission, State with the Nations. I wanted to add a motion. I am a member of DNA and I am a Muslim student, also an international student. And all of these policies have affected me personally and they've benefited me personally. And I would like to mention that this came out of nowhere. The fact that we decided to remove these policies between intercession, between like not when the two terms are our students are involved, this seems a little unethical, and I would want a motion to be added where the governance committee investigates what happened, what led to this, and maybe we get a letter from SFSS, including President Liam, which states what has happened, what led to this, and maybe investigate what concerns Hillel had and maybe officially answer those, because it might probably be good to have some transparency. I see some stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Sounds good. Okay. Thank you for that. Ashley. Wait, Ayo, you got a point of order.
Oh yeah, just a quick question as to whether or not only council. I guess it was either point or a point which I don't know which it was. I'm not sure if counselors can, if non-counselors can submit motion. And just also, I do believe that there was, I do believe that, yeah, there was a clause in Sam's motion in regards to investigation.
But it would be nice to have a letter as well that answers these things just in the name of transparency. Thank you.
Sounds about right as well. Okay, Ashley, your direct response. Oh, you retract it. Never mind. Natasha mentions they're removing themselves from the list. Let me take a look then. So, Arwa, if you are here, I believe that would be your turn.
They removed themselves as well. We have to find the next part. Give me a minute.
Okay, then. Then right after that, I believe, would it be Seniha? They listed at 550.
Hi, yes, I did list.
Okay.
I would just like to move to take new business item 9.1 first. That's the motion entitled SFSS calls for a permanent ceasefire and defends Palestinian liberation solidarity at SFU. The reason being because we have quite a few students here who would like to speak to that, and I think it would be respectful of their time if we took that first.
All right, that makes
Equity
sense.
seconds this.
If equity seconds, I'm going to be seeking unanimous consent. We'd be moving the ceasefire motion to be dealt with first. I am receiving no dissents. Okay, then.
Sorry,
Then it's
actually,
also
it was.
adopted.
My list, it wasn't for that, so we're all good. I'm just adding myself to the adoption of the agenda list.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Io's got a POI.
Yeah, just for clarity, would this be moving just that item first or new business first?
Just that item first.
Okay. So that would be before old business?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Back to the list. Let me take a look. After City Hall. Then I guess it's just Ashley's list.
Perfect. I would like so something weird happened here again. This actually happened during the last council meeting where my motion titled approval of finance policy doesn't actually have the motion that I attached with it and is actually the sus grant approval motion. I would like to move to replace the body of 8.2 with what 8.2 should actually be. I unfortunately don't have it on hand as I was not expecting to have to that such a mistake would be made, especially for a second time. So if you give me a moment, I can provide the actual motion, but I'm assuming that's a fairly amenable change to make. I would like to move to make it the real motion. Yeah, I'll find it and paste it in chat when I get it.
Okay. Which motion in the agenda are you amending again?
8.2, approval of finance policy.
Got it. I
It's a
see
very
it.
simple motion.
All right. Once you find the proper amendment for it, you can paste it in the chat whenever you feel like it. For now, though, I would like to second that and then also seek unanimous consent. I am receiving no dissent. This also goes. Well done. Are we finally done with the lists?
I think so.
Okay. Then I guess we can get straight to business now. And by business, I mean item. Let me take a look. 9.1. Yes, I think we're good to go now. Title's going to be SFSS calls for a permanent ceasefire and defends Palestinian liberation solidarity at SFU. I'd first like to move. May I get a seconder?
Finance.
PSA second.
Mechatronic seconds. We have a point of order in the chat, by the way, from Io.
Sorry, everyone there. I heard finance seconds. Very good. I'll take Io's point of order. Right
We
off the
still have
bat.
to vote to adopt the agenda. If we don't
Oh,
adopt the agenda, nothing in this.
you're correct. We can take care of that very, very quickly. We move too quickly. Before any of all that, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. Looking for unanimous consent. Receiving no dissent. Now we officially have our agenda. All right, now we're back. Where were we? We were at VP Finance seconds. Very good. Do we have any other points of orders? POIs anywhere? Does not look like it. So firstly, I will read it aloud and then we can get straight to the lists that we've got. Never mind. I just remembered how huge the motion is. Okay, yeah, I'll read it aloud, I guess. Whereas in 1948, the current state of Israel was established through the expulsion of a majority of the indigenous Palestinian population, turning them into refugees who decades later still cannot exercise their fundamental right to return as stipulated in UN General Assembly Resolution 194, whereas since 1967, Israel has occupied and colonized the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem, building illegal Jewish-only settlements, which the UN has called a flagrant violation of international law, as well as an 8-meter segregation wall, condemned by the International Court of Justice. Whereas Israel is currently conducting a ruthless bombing campaign and genocide, killing at least, oh, there's a lot of wording. Hold on. I think I'll share my screen just for the sake of accessibility, because reading it aloud is not going to be very smart for motions like this. I'm hoping everyone can see my screen. I am assuming you can all see what's on my. Okay, then. Where was I? Right. Genocide, killing at least an estimated 20,000 Palestinians and displacing over 2 million people multiple times a day since October 7, 2023 in Gaza and the West Bank, similar to the 2014 and 2021 bombing campaigns on Gaza, in which so many Palestinian civilians were killed by the Israeli military. Whereas Israel continues to suppress and enact violence and occupation across Palestine, allowing the proliferation of illegal settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, as well as continuing a current siege and military blockade of Gaza, controlling Gaza's air, land, and seaports. Whereas on July 9th, 2005, 171 Palestinian civil society organizations called upon the people of conscience around the world to implement a global campaign of boycott, divestment, and sanctions, BDS, against Israel, similar to those applied to South Africa in the apartheid era. Whereas the SFSS Council passed a motion opposing the colonization of Palestine in May 2021, which called for the end to the occupation and established a working group to draft and formulate SFSS support for Palestine through an SFSS Palestine Liberation Issues Policy, whereas the SFSS Free Palestine Working Group and various additional groups endorsed the Palestinian Liberation Issues Policy, namely SFU Support Student for Justice in Palestine, UBC Solidarity for Palestinian Human Rights, and Palestinian Youth Movement Vancouver, BDS Vancouver, Coast Salish, SFU Arab Student Association, SFU Migrant Student United, SFU International Student Advocates, SFU First Nations Métis and Inuit Student Association, SFU Students of Caribbean African Ancestry, SFU Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance, the Simon Fraser Public Interest Research Group, the SFU Radical Individuals for Solidarity and Equity, SFU International Studies Students Association, SFU 350, Anti-Racism Coalition Vancouver, Canadian Voices Against Racism, and the caucus, among many others, whereas all departmental student unions, faculty student unions, constituency groups, and affiliated groups as part of the SFS Council that were present on April 20th, 2022 unanimously voted in favor and passed the Palestinian Liberation Policy, which outlined SFSS support for Palestine after widespread membership support for and multiple groups endorsing. Whereas the SFSS Constitution outlines the purpose of the society to coordinate and promote all undergraduate student activities of, by, and for the undergraduate students of Simon Fraser University, to promote, among other goals democratically determined by the society, the principles of public, universally accessible, high-quality post-secondary education, and of meaningful undergraduate student participation in all aspects of university governance, and to facilitate collective action by undergraduate students at SFU within the province of BC and elsewhere in support of these principles in a manner that is reflective of the anti-oppressive mandate of the SFSS as outlined in SFSS bylaw 16. Whereas the student movement has historically been a driving force in advocating for social justice and change, actively participating in and supporting various movements, from opposing the Vietnam War, championing the Black Power movement in the 60s, aligning with labor rights movements, endorsing movements, including the Isle No More, the opposing apartheid in South Africa up until the 1990s, illustrating our unwavering commitment to societal progress, justice, and equity. I'm not even halfway done. Oh, my bad. I forgot where I was. I am going to start on this page. Be it further resolved that the SFSS Council. No, there was. I'm going to start on be it resolved clauses, because be it resolved that the SFSS Council called for a permanent ceasefire in Palestine, to end the siege and genocide in Gaza, and for an end to the Israeli occupation in occupied Palestinian territories, and reaffirm its support for the current Palestinian Liberations Issue policy previously passed by Council. Be it further resolved, the SFSS Council called upon the Canadian government to put all the resources at their disposal to ensure a permanent ceasefire. Be it resolved that the SFSS Council announced the passing of this motion and outline the previous motions passed with the resources in the background as outlined. Be it further resolved that the SFSS Council endorse the SFU Students for Justice in Palestine open letter to SFU, currently signed and endorsed by multiple groups, including the SFU Graduate Student Society, Teach Support Staff Union, Palestinian Youth Movement, Independent Jewish Voices, Unite in Struggle, Simon Fraser Public Interest Research Group, SFU, Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance, SFU Ukrainian Student Society, SFU Students of Caribbean African Ancestry, Psychology Student Union, SFU Music and Sound Student Union, Sociology and Anthropology Graduate Student Association, the PEAK, Muslim Students Association, Arab Students Association, SFU 350, Bangladesh Student Alliance, Undergraduate Student Solidarity, Migrant Student United, SFU Slam Poetry Club, Ambedkar Reading Group, United Migrant Front, Roots on the Roof, Sustainability Teens, Thakulin Muslim Association, and counting. Be it further resolved that the SFSS put to the next referenda to adopt the membership level by referenda. The current Palestinian Liberation Issues Policy, previously passed by Council in 2022 as attached, and be voted on by membership via a vote at referendum, with the submitter of this motion submitting the referendum question, and the question be outlined to membership as follows. Whereas an issues policy may be adopted by membership at the membership level, and if passed, can only then afterwards be repealed at the membership level as per bylaw 611, whereas a non-passage of an issues policy by referenda would mean the policy will continue to be an issues policy at the SFSS Council level, whereas the SFSS Council previously unanimously passed the SFSS Palestinian Liberation Issues Policy in solidarity with the Palestinian people after the previous bombardment of Gaza in 2021. And now there is a counting genocide and siege on Gaza since October 7, 2023, resulting in the death of an estimated 20,000 Palestinians and further displacement of 2 million people. Whereas the people of Palestine continue to face occupation and blockade by the current state of Israel, and Palestinian Liberation Issues Policy was adopted to be in solidarity with the Palestinian people and passed unanimously, be it resolved that the SFSS membership adopt the SFSS Palestinian Liberation Issues Policy at the membership level as permitted by SFSS bylaw 611. And be it further resolved that the referendum question is accompanied with the following references as background to be accompanied with the motion for referenda, which is first, number 1, the actual Palestinian Liberations Issue Policy itself as attached. Number 2, original motion submitted during the original passage of the policy. And number 3, the SFSS Council statement after SFSS Council passed the policy. And we, ladies and gentlemen, are done.
Okay, Liam, we're back to regular priority. So SF Perk has a list. They go first, and then we can start with students.
SF Perk goes first?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
I'll keep it short since the motion is thorough and sufficient. This motion is coming at a time of ongoing genocide and a time when post-secondary institutions in Canada, and are actively censoring students and faculty and staff, and perpetuating anti-Palestinian and anti-Semitic racism on and off campus. Earlier, the notice of motion to repeal all IPs, including IP 10, is direct targeting of Palestinian students, anti-Zionist Jewish students, and their allies. So the motion presented today presents all of you an opportunity, really, and for council and membership to stand on the right side of history, which I'm pretty sure you've heard many times by now. And it presents an opportunity for you to listen to your membership who showed up today. And over the past years, throughout the history of SFSS, as countless organizations and underrepresented and equity-seeking groups did the labor for all of you. So I'm asking you to listen, and the least you could do is some due diligence in evaluating this. Thank you.
Thank you. Going to Abby, can you remind me who's next on the list? Sumaya, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. Give me 1 second, please. Just double check. I don't want to. We've had a lot in the chat. Let me just make sure.
Are you calling on me or?
Sorry, in the meantime, that's fine.
Abby needs to make sure for a few seconds.
I think it was Brandon, actually. Brendan.
Okay, then.
Yes, thank you. Hi, my name is Brendan Ruth. I'm a student in the undergrad. I'm an undergraduate student in the English Student Union. My counselor seat is currently vacant, so I'll be addressing the council as a whole. In the strongest possible terms, I call upon the SFSS Council to vote for the motion entitled SFSS Calls for a Permanent Ceasefire and Defends Palestinian Liberation Solidarity at SFU. 90 days have passed since the State of Israel began their genocidal campaign against the people of Gaza. Today, over 20,000 Gazans, including 7,000 children, hiding in apartment buildings, hospitals, churches, mosques, and refugee camps have been murdered by Israeli bombs funded by our tax dollars. This comes amidst increased violence in the West Bank by Israeli security forces and illegal Israeli settlers that has killed hundreds of additional Palestinian civilians, as well as strikes against civilians in Lebanon and Syria. 153 countries have voted for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza at the United Nations, including our own government of so-called Canada. Protests numbering in the millions have erupted across the world since October 7th in solidarity with Palestine, many led by students and young people such as those represented by the SFSS Council. Additionally, on December 29th, the government of South Africa has officially initiated proceedings against the State of Israel in the International Court of Justice for committing genocide against the Palestinian people. Amidst this global crisis, SFSS has a duty to represent the students of SFU, including our many students who are themselves Palestinian, in calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire. Furthermore, SFSS has a duty to protect Palestinian students and their allies, which includes anti-Zionist Jewish allies, in the cause of Palestinian liberation. It is for these reasons I urge every SFSS counselor and executive to vote for the motion, calling for this direly needed ceasefire and protecting Palestinian liberation at SFU. And finally, I just want to speak to the idea of SFSS being politically neutral, which I know that motion has been struck, but since that's somewhat relevant to what we're discussing here, I would like to close with a quote by Desmond Tutu, the late South African anti-apartheid and human rights activist, who said, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." Thank you.
Thank you. Looking at Abby's updated list, he has very kindly sent. Tal would be the next on the list.
Hey, yeah, I'll start by saying we're not a model UN. The point of the SFSS is to represent all students, and by taking clear political stances, it goes against this very principle. If we bring this motion up, by the same logic, we should also be creating a motion that condemns the October 7th terrorist attack, where 1,200 people were tortured, murdered, raped, 200 people were kidnapped, you know, the thing that started this war. But I'm not going to suggest we create a motion for that either, because once again,
this war did not start on October 7th. You can kick me out if you want, but it did not start.
Let me speak. Once again, we're a student society. We're not a political entity. So I'm not going to suggest that we create a motion for that either. Our job is to fight for the interest of SFU students, not taking stances on an extremely complex war halfway across the world. Moreover, I don't think there's been much discussion about this from any student groups that would be affected by passing this. I don't feel comfortable passing this without further consultation, not only from groups that this would affect, but also my own student society that I'm representing. I found out about this yesterday, and that's just not enough time, in my opinion. And just as a side note, at the very bare minimum, we should be encouraging respectful discussion on all viewpoints. And I don't think that's been happening at all in this call. Specifically, the amount of vitriol being directed at Liam, the earlier Jewish speakers, is quite honestly disgusting. And I'd expect better from SFU students. You should still have a base level of respect for people you disagree with. I'd love to have conversations with people of differing viewpoints, but I don't think that's what this call has become. Thanks.
Ashley, I see a direct response.
Yeah, absolutely. I just figured I would respond directly to that. Say this has actually been a very civil call, and I really appreciate. I also think it would be, we should try to be civil and respectful in our conversation. But considering what previous council meetings used to be like, I think we should consider ourselves all very lucky. I feel like that's something else I was going to say. Oh, right, I remember. The SFSS is explicitly a political organization. We were when we're founded, we are now. That's our entire mission statement and goal. To deny that the SFSS is a political organization is to not know a single thing about what we do. We engage in politics, we engage in supporting students. That's who we are and what we do. Yeah, that's if yeah.
Tal, you have a direct response?
Yeah, I agree that we're supposed to be supporting students, but we can't support certain students at the at the I guess demise of others. Yeah, I think it honestly goes against the Canadian Human Rights Act that we're bound to, which according to Council Policy R5 5.2-C, if we want to be really specific with our paperwork here, we can't discriminate based on race, ethnicity, language, religion, marital status, gender, sexual orientation, age, disabilities, economic status, and also political affiliation. That goes against the Canadian Human Rights Act that we are bound to.
Thank you, Tal. I see Ibrahim. You have direct response?
Yes, thank you so much for letting me speak. So to choose the motion and stand for a ceasefire call is not taking a political stance. Right now in Gaza, people are not just dying with bombs, they're dying with the lack of food and water. Supporting a ceasefire would allow humanitarian aid to enter with food and water, the basic needs of humanity. Like, I don't understand how this can be a political stance rather than a call for humanity to allow people not to die from hunger. Thank you.
Thank you. I am gonna look at the. Okay. Tal went, unless there's any other direct response. It doesn't look so. Siniha, you should have the next list.
Okay, thank you. I want to start by reminding council that it's part of the SFSS's mission to advocate for students, build student power, and provide resources and services that represent, connect, and benefit our membership. After over 20,000 Gazans being killed and millions being displaced as a result of Israel's bombardment campaign, I think there's no other word to describe what is happening but genocide. This ongoing genocide in Palestine isn't a matter that is far away from us. It is a lived reality for Palestinian students who are our peers here at SFU. The university admin has failed to appropriately respond to this and offer support to their students who are impacted. I call on councilors to vote yes on this motion to be that support and to show that SFU students do not side with injustice, with colonialism, apartheid, and with illegal occupation. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, sorry, Tal, I might have not seen your direct response earlier. Did I skip over it?
Hey, it's all good. I just want to make it very clear that I mean, obviously, it goes without saying, I think war and conflict is terrible. I think it's absolutely awful what's happening, not only there, but in many places in the Middle East. But I think what it comes down to is, as a student society, we shouldn't be talking about this because conflicts are complex. Conflicts are politically complex. That's not our place. I really didn't want to get into politics today. Yeah, once again, we're a student society. I think that we have more important things that we should be thinking about and doing for our student body um, than politics.
I see CSA has a direct response.
Hi, well, just because something's like complex doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it. The thing is, we as a student society represents the students. So if they want to engage and talk about complex matters such as this, then the thing is we are obligated to as well discuss it since it is an important matter since it's from the students that we represent. So let's say if something's complex like sexual assault, do we just not talk about it? Do we just not support it, right? Or if something like, let's say racism, I mean, should we also not talk about racism since it's complex? I think that I disagree with you, and I do see where you're coming from. But as a student society, when all else fails, we are the last hope for our students to, have their voices heard, and we should act like a student society.
Okay, I'm looking at quite a few direct responses now. I think I'm gonna cut off the direct response chain. We still got a few more people to go. Let me take a look. I think Sam, you should be the next to speak.
Hi, Liam. I would first like to say I'm in favor of calling for a ceasefire. I think it's the right thing we need to do. And I really like the motion that Sienna brought. I think it's very good. I would just like to propose an amendment to make it a bit better and add some more stuff. It was previously mentioned that the Canadian government has also called for a ceasefire. I would like to add some of the words that were also used by the Canadian government in this, just to help frame our argument and also make it very clear, as per IP10, that while we support Palestinian liberation, we also do not support anti-Semitism or attacks against Jewish people. So I would like to add this section to it to make this call for a ceasefire more well-rounded and better.
We unequivocally condemn Hamas's terror attacks on Israel on October 7th, the appalling loss of life, and the heinous acts of violence perpetrated in those attacks, including sexual violence. We condemn Hamas's unacceptable treatment of hostages and call for the immediate and unconditional treatment of all remaining hostages. We recognize Israel's right to exist and right to defend itself. In defending itself, Israel must respect international humanitarian law. Civilians and civilian infrastructure must be protected. We are alarmed at the diminishing safe space for civilians in Gaza. The price of defeating Hamas cannot be the continuous suffering of all Palestinian civilians. This seems like a nice amendment. Do we have a seconder for it, first of all? This is the amendment that Sam is proposing to add onto the ceasefire motion. Do we have a seconder?
CSA second.
I hear CSA seconds. All right, I'm seeking unanimous consent. Okay,
Then
no
we have a
dissent.
list of we have a list of lists.
Yeah, we do
We've
have a
got
list
like
of lists.
4 of us.
Right. So I'll take a look at the next one. After Sam, it should be Adriana. if I'm not mistaken.
Sorry, I believe it's myself, Star Power, then Adriana, then Samaya.
Who's Star? Yours?
No, like Star Power is a name, like it's my list, and then Star Power, then Adriana, and Samaya. Then we'll go back to the old list after the amendment.
Oh,
Just quickly, Adriana put a point of order in the chat. However,
sorry,
we
I
are
missed that.
not on that old list, Adriana. We are on the we're on the amendment that I put.
Yeah. Abby?
Okay, thank you. I was gonna say, I would advise, speaking to counselors, I would advise voting in favor of Sam's amendment just for the sake of, I think in terms of protecting the society. I know a lot of people don't like the Canadian government and for good reason, but using the language that they have used is good for protecting the society from any repercussions that could come from passing this motion. So I would advise passing this amendment. I think, the motion itself is being done for the right reason. And I think this amendment just kind of helps us protect our backside a little bit.
Okay. Star Power, you have the next list.
Yeah, sure. Apologies for getting here late, so I'm sorry if this has already been said, but just making a statement about the ceasefire does seem to be the bare minimum. I don't understand what's so hard about that. It's not really stepping on anyone's toes aside from basically calling for a literal ceasefire, like stop shooting everyone, I don't see what the big deal about that is and what the resistance is to that.
Okay. Adriana, you have the next list.
I mostly wanted to ask a clarifying question, which is about this motion. The point, as I understand it, is to sign on to a letter rather than to draft our own letter. And given that other organizations have already, include organizations of equal stature to ours like GSS, I don't think we can make alterations to the letter. That would be a separate motion altogether because that letter already exists and our signature is what's being asked for, not our independent publishing and drafting of the letter. That's from my understanding. If I am wrong, then I am wrong.
I don't think Sam was proposing to change anything in the letter. I think he was more so changing the wording of the motion itself, just for the sake of clarity. So, we don't get come after if we do choose to move forward with it. That's all. Samaya, you have the next list.
Sam has a deal.
Sam?
Yes, I would like to say this is just to amend our condemnation, because at the beginning of the motion, there is a call for ceasefire that SFU does, and then they're signing on to the letter. I believe we should do both. I just want to add this to our own, as I feel it's important and helps cover SFU as well. Well, helps cover the SFSS. And Evan has also just called this question.
Oh. Evan calls it into question. He moves it. Can we get a seconder?
Finance.
I hear finance seconds it. Just to be clear, calling something into question means we are ending lists, we are ending discussions, we were moving straight to the voting. Therefore, no more lists after this would be taken.
I was supposed to talk.
That is fair. However, one has moved into question, and we'll
I
go
was
for voting into question first of all.
yeah, I was on. Oh my God. Okay.
Can we please move to voting? We're gonna be here forever at this rate.
No, but it's important. I wanted to talk about wars that you guys forgot to condemn and or call for ceasefire. You know.
That's gonna be on this motion beam. So I mean, don't get me wrong. Like we've heard a lot at this point, but at this rate, we're gonna be here literally until 12 a.m. So I believe it's best we get going right now with what we have.
Yes, like honestly,
I would agree with
just
that.
I
With
want
that being
20
said, would we
seconds.
have any dissents?
Can I get 20 seconds? Just 20 seconds.
Sorry, point of order.
Point of order.
I'm gonna be very blunt here. If people are gonna speak out of order, I'm gonna start booting you from the meeting. I want to make this very clear. The chat, if you are gonna chat, please just list. We're struggling to keep up with the lists here, so I'm giving a warning now. I'm gonna start booting people. So please stick to the lists. Please don't speak out of order. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Siniha, you also have a point of order.
That's what I was gonna say, actually, so retract.
Okay, then. Very nice. Do we have any dissents from moving to question? If you do, you can mention your dissent in the chat. You can raise your hand in the meeting, or you could voice it. Do we have anyone who dissents? Going once, going twice. All right. Councillor Tell chooses to abstain. Very nice. All right, then. By majority, we're going to be going into question. That means we're going to vote. So now we're voting on the ceasefire motion itself.
Liam, you never voted on the amendment itself, just on whether or not we were going to vote on the amendment?
Yeah, we're voting on the amendment now.
Okay, cool.
Okay, then. So now I'm going to be seeking unanimous consent after I take Io's POI.
Sorry, it's not
up?
I, it's me. I was just asking because it was pretty much what Ashley said, so just retract. Forget about it.
Now I'm going to be seeking unanimous consent on the ceasefire letter motion. Now, if you wish to dissent, please do so now. You could either voice your dissent, put yourself in the chat, raise some sort of figure. Ashley, I see you have a hand raised.
I do. I would like to vote against the amendment. To be very clear, I'm not voting against the ceasefire motion. I'm very in favor of the ceasefire motion. I'm voting against Sam's amendment.
All right. Liam, are you voting on the motion itself or amending it? Oh, right. I should word this much better. This is Sam proposed an amendment for our motion. We must vote on that first, and then after that's done, we will vote on the entire motion, which is going to be the ceasefire itself. So right now, we're not voting on the ceasefire motion altogether. We're simply voting on Sam's amendment that he proposed for the ceasefire motion. I am hoping this makes sense. All right. So once again, I'm going to go back onto unanimous consent, giving people some time to voice any dissent. Ashley has voiced her dissent for Sam's amendment. Do we have any other dissents? Councillor Siniha also voices her dissent. Okay, then.
As does SF Perk.
And SF Perk. So it seems to me that this amendment is a bit controversial. And if that's going to be the case, I would then like to move the vote then to roll call. Pull up the list of councillors. Very nice then. So based on roll call, I'll get a pen and paper out and we'll number things the old-fashioned way. This is, once again, going to be the vote on Sam's proposed amendment. I'm going to begin with archaeology.
Against.
All right. When I call on you, you can say you're against it, you abstain, or you can say in favor. I've just done archaeology, just voted against. Now I will go for Bachelor of Environment Student Union. On Sam's amendment, yes, actually. Bachelor of Environment, maybe it's been established already that they are not here. Behavioral Neuroscience Student Society.
Arthi had to go.
Had to go? Understood. Okay, thank you very much. Is Biology Student Union here?
Yes, I'm voting against.
Okay, biology votes against. I will take a look at biomedical, physiology, and kinesiology. If they are here. If I'm calling on someone who has submitted a regret already, then you can please tell me. Anyway, seems biology is not here. All right, biomedical physiology, kinesiology, like Jobin. This is also going to be silent. So business administration, student society. Miha?
I abstain.
Miha abstains. Got it. Let me take a look. Chemistry, student society, if they are here. Doesn't seem so. Nothing's in the chat either. So I'm going to move on to cognitive science. Move on. Move on. Cognitive science? Nope. Okay, then. Computing science. Computing science votes against. Criminology Student Association.
Against.
Also against. Let's take a look. Data science. If data science is here to vote. It seems not. I'm going to move on to Earth Science Student Union. She might have had to leave. Yeah, I agree. Anyway, I hear ESSU is going to be abstaining. I'll mark that down. Economic Student Society. If economics is here. Doesn't seem like it.
Hi, Liam. I have done my resignation because I won't be able to continue because of graduation.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I'm not a counselor anymore. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Understood. Engineering science.
I would like to abstain.
Engineering abstains. Let me take a look. Then it's going to be environmental science student union.
Abstain.
Abstains. Okay. Just science. Let me take geography student unions next. Geography. Eric. Might not be here. Health science undergraduate. They say they abstain. Okay, then. History student union, not here. Indigenous studies student union.
Abstain.
Also abstains. Mechatronics system engineering.
I'd like to abstain. Thank you.
Also an abstain. MBB student union.
Hi, everyone. I propose the amendment to help cover the SFSS basis and yeah, to help cover the basis for the SFSS. However, as has been pointed out to me, the amendment that I made was flawed. So as it is flawed, I will join in voting against. Thank you for everyone's feedback.
Understood. Philosophy, Student Union. Philosophy doesn't look like they're here. Political science. Why? Doesn't look like it. Science Undergraduate Society, Catherine.
I will abstain. Thank you.
Abstains. Good. Okay. Society of Arts and Social Sciences. Says. Does not look like they are here. Sociology and Anthropology. Andre? Doesn't look like so. Software Systems, Student Society.
I abstain.
Abstains. Let me take a look. Statistics and Actuarial Science.
I abstain.
Also abstains. That was statistics. So Sustainable Energy Engineering is next.
I abstain.
One abstain. World Languages and Literature. No? World Languages? Doesn't look like it. Nothing in the chat either. Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance. What are we voting for now? We are still voting on Sam's amendment. I'd like to get through it as soon as possible. Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance. Anyway, doesn't look like so. First Nations, Métis and Inuit Student Association. Chris. Does not look like so. Students of Caribbean and African ancestry.
Against.
Okay. SOCA I mentioned against. F&M ISA and DNA, they have both mentioned themselves. They are both. Oh, F&M ISA abstains. All right. DNA says against. Where was I? Yes, I was on Residence Halls Association, RHA. He says against. Teach Support Staff Union. Another against. SF Perk. SF Perk. Tui.
Against. Sorry,
Allowed against. All right. Exec committee time. Me personally, I will abstain. Acting VP internal. You already mentioned that you are against.
I will be keeping my vote to against, yes.
Okay then. VP Finance.
I vote against the proposed motion.
All right then. Let me move on to VP University. Thomas, VP University. Says against VP External.
So I'll go against.
Against. VP Equity.
Against.
Against. And then VP Events.
Abstain.
Abstain. All right then. We have, if I'm counting it right, 15 against, 14 abstain, absolutely nobody in favor. This dies. This amendment dies horribly. Were there any further amendments that were proposed? Evan calls into question and bringing the motion itself to a vote. All right,
Internal seconds.
Internal seconds. Do we have any dissents? I don't see any dissent. Well, so the question, moving into question, passes. All right. To be clear now we are not voting on any other amendments. We are voting on the ceasefire motion itself. Once again, I'm going to be looking for unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent or abstain, you can voice it in the chat, raise your hands, voice it verbally. All right, we have an abstain, SSSS. Any other dissents or abstains? Grayson also abstains. Any others? Going once.
CSS would like to abstain.
CSS, all right then. That's another abstain.
Sorry, C's. It's the energy engineering, just to clarify.
Right. I know, Andrew Nathan. Can everyone vote on this one? Nope, this is for counselors. Each of engineering abstains, counting as well, 4 abstains. Final call for any other dissents. Once, twice, 3 times. All right, there were 4 abstains on this one. This would still pass by majority. So this motion passes. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. And now that we have finished item, what was it, 9.1, we can now move on to the ceasefire motion passes. Yes, that is correct. It has passed. It has just passed 10 seconds ago. We can now move on to our regular agenda. Regular agenda schedule, I mean. That means starting off with old business, which would be 8.1, Western Engineering Conference funding, submitted by engineering. I would like to move. Would anyone care to second?
Mechatronics seconds.
Mechatronics seconds. All right. Whereas WEC, Western Engineering Competition, provides an outlet for engineering students across Western Canada to demonstrate their skills and develop invaluable connections, whereas WEC will be hosted in the University of Manitoba on January 26th to 29th, 2024. Whereas 17 winners as a result of 2024's ECSFU, EC stands for Engineering Competition, will be attending WEC for the categories Programming, Senior and Junior Design, Consulting, and Re-engineering, whereas they are seeking financial support above what admin and staff are allowed to approve. Whereas they are seeking a total of $20,000 of funding to support students for this event, be it resolved to approve of allocating X amount for the trip. I would now like to introduce discussion. Yes, each of you, Xing, you have a list.
Yep. So real quick, I know this is about my 3rd time here now. So just real quick, recap everything. We are now asking for we came to agreement with everybody last week. Unfortunately, we lost quorum right before we could vote. So we're asking for $2,586. That will pretty much help us send 17 of those students to this Western Engineering Competition this year in Manitoba. The aim of this is to be able to hopefully is a long-term investment here, where we are hoping to invest money into our society now in order for us to be able to make connections at the bigger stages. And I will type the money into the chat here. 2586. And so pretty much hopefully we can just quickly have this motion over with, as we pretty much came to agreement last week. Sorry, 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
Okay. Andrew Nathan, your list.
Hi, is this money being used only for engineering science students, or is it going to be between the 3 engineering programs?
Yeah, response.
Sorry, this is a question for the engineering science counselor.
Yeah. So this money will be used just for the Engineering Science Society.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then. Do we have any further discussions from anyone? Going once, going twice. That's all. You have a list.
Just wondering if also maybe because we also take part in Mechatron in the EC and WEC as well, and CEC, which is the Canadian Engineering Competition, just as C does, and just as AFSS does. All the engineers take part in this. Is it also possible for Mechatronics, and I would say on behalf of CSS as well, is it possible for us to also get similar funding for flights and that kind of stuff? How does that, and if so, how does that work?
Ashley, you turned your list into a direct response, it seems.
I actually also have a list, but I have an answer to their question, so I figured I would do both. To answer your question, the answer is absolutely yes. The SFSS is here to fund a variety of student events, not just engineers, but all kinds of engineers. If you would like to do this kind of event and you have expenditures that you'd like the SFSS to reimburse you on, please do submit a grant proposal. In order to do so, and then wait until we have rejected or approved your grant proposal. If it's a large amount of money, we're probably going to reject it, and then you just come to council as an appeal after the fact and say, hey, I'd like to spend some money on flights so I can ship my engineers out to do cool engineering conferences, and then you can totally do that. And I highly recommend counselors inform their student groups that they should submit lots of grants for lots of events, whether you're engineering or any other department. I'm struggling to think of another one. Gender studies, maybe. I don't know. That's what I am.
Mechatronics, if you feel like it's worth your time, I'd say absolutely go for it. Yes, Ashley, your normal list now.
Hi, yes. I would like to move to strike X from the be it resolved clause and replace it with $2,586, just so we make sure we're working with the most up-to-date motion. That is how much money they are asking for, not the big scary 20K that is listed in the whereas clause. So I'd like to move to put the actual number in the motion.
Well, I second it. No present seconds. Seeking unanimous consent. There's no dissent. All right, extra $2,586 is it. It is. Joel, you have the next list.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Joel. I don't think you do. I'm a counselor.
Oh, you are right. My mistake.
Yeah. Sorry, this is a quick question, a simple question. I would like to ask Ashley or the engineering science counselor what category you would use for the WEC flights. I understand that we are allowed to ask for any amount as a grant. It is rejected and we appeal. But when I went to my VP Finance with this, she told me that she couldn't enter a number or that she could not find a good category to put the WEC flights in. So I'd like to know what we could use so we could subsidize our WEC flights, for example.
You have a response for that?
Sorry, I have a response. Let me just check our grant proposal real quickly. So for our actual flights, we put it under
There is a PO that kind of makes sense.
I can read the PO. I understand, but Tony, you were saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say, we filed it under like general expenses, and we just put like the description for the flight and like our expected costs.
Okay. Eugene, you seem to have a direct response. Retracts it, so Joel will be the next on the list.
I have a question around how much money does the SFSS have left? We still have other priorities like insurance, the student care that seems to be going under. I know the TEDx bill was, the grant was revoked, and it's very helpful to know that it's not 12,000 they're asking for, but 2,000 something, which seems a lot more reasonable. But how is SFSS doing in terms of their finances, if somebody could tell me?
Yeah, IO, you have a PO.
This would be a content for the Q&A. As it is, we still have to discuss the ongoing motion, meaning any questions are directed towards the submitters of the motion and not related to the SFS's affairs. That can be handling the Q&A.
Is anyone still waiting for a list that they have? Ashley retracts her direct response, so I think we are done with the list. Is anyone still waiting for a list? It seems we are good. All right, then I'm cutting off discussion right now, and I'm going to go for unanimous consent, seeking unanimous consent for this motion. I'm receiving no dissent, so this passes unanimously. Well done. Okay, then. We are now going to move on to item number 8.2, which would be the approval of finance policy submitted by acting VP Internal. Firstly, I move. Anyone care to second?
ISSU.
ISSU seconds. All right. Ashley, thank you for reading my mind. Whereas the FAST Committee reviewed and recommended changes to the finance policy of the Society on October 13, 2023, whereas the Governance Committee reviewed and disclosed these changes on October 30th, 2023, be it resolved, the SFSS adopt the changes to finance policy outlined in attachment SFSS finance policies where you might be missing a quote somewhere. Whereas the FAST Committee reviewed and recommended changes to the finance policy of the Society on October 13, 2023, whereas the Governance Committee reviewed and discussed these changes on October 30th, 2023, be it resolved that the SFSS adopt the changes to finance policy outlined in attachment SFSS finance policies 2023, October 30th. Yes, Ashley, you got a list?
I do. You are correct that there is a missing quotation mark, and I'm now realizing that the reason for that is the date is actually wrong. So I'm going to make a quick amendment. If you give me 4 seconds, I just want to make sure the date on the attachment is in line, so we all know the actual attachment that we are talking about. So that is the real date. So first I'd like to move to strike 2023-10-30 and replace it with 2023-11-2. I'd also like in the 1, 2, in the first be it resolved clause where it says be it resolved the SFS adopt the changes to finance policy outlined in attachment open quote SFSS finance policy. I'd like to add on to the end of that 2022-11-2 close quotations and then a semicolon. I can type that out in chat, but I'd like to move to make that grammatical amendment.
All right, then I second. I'm seeking unanimous consent. Receiving no dissent. It passes unanimously. Okay, then. I don't suppose it's an absolute necessity to wait. Or if Ashley's planning on typing some stuff out, I think I can go on.
I was done.
You're done? Nice. I'm going to go vote on the motion itself now. Once again, seeking unanimous consent. SFSS finance policy. I'm receiving no dissent. I'll say that this passes unanimously as well. Very nice. Item 8.3 on our agenda is the staff gift cards. This is submitted by acting VP Internal. So, whereas SFSS gives staff gift cards annually at the end of the calendar year as a gesture of gratitude for their work, be it resolved to approve $5,813.62 from line item 816-31 to purchase gift cards for all staff members. Abby, you have a list?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say a couple quick things. First, it's unfortunate we didn't get to approve this before the break, so it'll be a little bit more of a New Year's gift than, say, a Happy Holidays gift. But I also wanted to just take a moment to thank the staff for all the hard work they do. They take a lot of vitriol and a lot of abuse, quite frankly, from students sometimes, and they grin and bear it, and a lot of them have been here for a long time. So just a quick thank you to them for all that they do.
Thank you, Abby. Do we have any further discussions? It seems like we do not. Then if that's the case, I'm going to seek unanimous consent right away. I'm receiving no dissent. This passes unanimously. Well done, everyone. Wait a second. Dang, nah, but I don't think I asked for a mover and a seconder. Okay, we'll start all over again. First of all, I move. Anyone care to second it?
CSA seconds.
CSA seconds. I'm seeking unanimous consent. Receiving no dissent. This passes unanimously. Well done, everyone. Okay. Let me take a look at what's next on our agenda. Our current agenda has nothing left. Now it's time for the added items. I think, Chad, your item would be first for new business.
Was Evans a discussion item?
My bad,
Just want to
Evan.
clarify.
Did you submit a discussion item?
Evan has a motion that he submitted.
It was a motion. All right then. It was this one. Yes, investigate Grammarly subscription. I believe this was the first one that was added onto new business. We'll take care of this one right away. Investigate Grammarly subscription for SFSS membership. Firstly, I move. Anyone care to second?
Okay.
I think I heard MVP seconds, so I will read it aloud. Whereas the SFSS exists as an organization that aims to provide support and benefits to membership in their academic studies, whereas many students utilize Grammarly in their studies, whereas Grammarly Premium is very expensive for the average student, whereas student unions such as the Toronto Metropolitan University Students Union, McGill, and NGUSS, which is the University of Northern British Columbia, provide students the option to purchase Grammarly Premium for their students for their studies for as low as $10 per year, which is a significant discount of over 75% from the regular price. Be it resolved that we research and investigate the possibility of providing discounted access to Grammarly Premium to SFSS membership. Be it further resolved that we connect, if needed, with the UNBC, McGill, or TMU student unions to investigate how they gain access to this discounted service. Be it further resolved that if reasonable, within our power, and financially viable after our investigation and research, we provide SFSS membership with access to discounted Grammarly Premium subscriptions. Okay. Now it's time for discussion, if there is any. I don't see any lists. Oh, actually, I see one.
This seems cool. I don't know. I can't necessarily say I'm a huge fan of Grammarly as a software. I prefer other softwares, but I think being able to, not that I think we should look into other softwares, but I think this is cool to provide students access with this as they can at a discounted rate. I think it might be a little much if we want to try to give this to all students for free. But I definitely think we should look into it, and that's really cool. The other thing I was going to suggest, not any changes to this motion, but it's relevant, so I'm putting it here. Perhaps we should consider doing a little poke into SFU, asking if they want to make it free for students, as they used to they still provide, I believe, Microsoft Office for free. They used to provide Adobe, but no longer. Perhaps maybe SFU will be willing to provide Grammarly free for students. Feels like will be really cool. Maybe VP University wants to talk to them about that or something. I don't know, just an idea.
Okay. Evan, your list.
Yeah, I'll just say quick. I think all the schools I'm seeing do it right now are all charging $10 a year. Free would be cool too, though. But I think McGill also just automatically included it in their student fees and then gave an opt-out option for all students. And then TMU bought 2,000 subscriptions and then let up to 2,000 students in their membership buy them. So I think they're able to do it in a way that's that they're not spending money, it seems like, but they're also providing this service. I think it's like in partnership.
Okay. Very good. Any further lists? Going once, going twice, 3 times. None. All right. I'm going to end discussion now. I'm going to move straight to voting. Seeking unanimous consent. Well, I am receiving no dissent for this. This passes unanimously. Very nice. After this, I believe it would be Evan's motion, and then Sam has a motion as well. if I'm not wrong. Oh, I see. Thank you very much, Samar. Wasn't that Evans? It says it's submitted by VP Finance. It doesn't look like it. 500. Isn't it Jad's? Yeah, this looks like Jad's.
Yeah, I think
500,000.
that was my motion, yeah.
Okay. Anyhow, we will take care of this right now. $500,000 investment into a longer term RBC GIC, submitted by VP Finance and Services. Firstly, I'd like to move. May I get a seconder?
Events.
I hear events. Seconds. Okay. I will read it aloud. Whereas markets continue to be unpredictable heading into 2024, whereas the Bank of Canada has not indicated lowering the interest rates heading into the new year, whereas quarterly inflation continues to remain well above the 2% targets, whereas safer investments are required in an era of rapid inflation and economic instability. Be it resolved, the council approves an investment of $500,000 into a compounding RBC long-term GIC at 4.25% annually. I will start off with Ashley's list.
Thank you, Liam. I have long held that I am not an expert on money. I don't know anything about money. I'm willing to defer to our VP Finance on this. So I'm not going to speak to whether or not I think this motion is a good idea, because I honestly don't know. However, from a policy perspective, I have concerns about this motion being put onto the agenda during adoption of the agenda. I would have liked to have seen a briefing note. I would have liked to have seen this on the agenda a week in advance, especially considering the fact that it is $500,000. Unfortunately, we've been setting this precedent this last year, piggybacking off of last year's precedent of amending on big money expenditures last minute during adoption of the agenda, and I would like to stop that right here and there by moving to postpone this motion until next council meeting, such that we can have time to be provided with a briefing note, as well as perhaps a presentation from our VP Finance explaining the reasons for this motion. Yeah, let's not spend $500,000 with zero notice. Thank you. I move to postpone to next meeting.
Can we get a seconder?
CSA second.
CSA seconds. All right. I'm going to be cautiously seeking unanimous consent. If anyone wishes to dissent, please do so now. In the chat, raising hands, etc. Priyanka has a POI.
I'm not sure if I'm using POI correctly in this instance. But per one of our bylaws, so bylaw 25, any indirect investments are limited to equities whose companies only drive at most 5% of their gross revenue from fossil fuel investments. I'm not familiar with RBC's investment portfolio. I'm not sure if we would be breaking our bylaw. So if VP Finance, I'm fine with postponing, but if VP Finance could confirm that it's not more than 5%.
All right, Chad, direct response.
So just to kind of touch upon Priyanka's point, the investment we're looking to make, it's not going to be in any fossil fuels. It's actually going to be in a government-backed security. That's what a GIC is. So yeah, it's not going to be within any fossil fuels at all.
SFPERG has a POI.
I think I echo what Priyanka was talking about, but given that nothing was provided regarding this motion, and given that it's also against bylaws to invest in fossil fuels, we're supposed to divest given issues policies. Yeah, so I was, I guess, against it, but also clarification. Is this even supposed to be on the agenda?
Sam, you have a POI?
Yeah, mine was just going to be the same as the others. I had questions about the fossil fuel thing, and I was wondering. I just want to clarify, it has been moved to the next meeting?
Not
hasn't yet?
yet. Nope.
Okay. Because if it's moved to the next meeting, then we can get Jad to provide more clarification on the environmental aspects and I can also, as counselors, we can go and research it ourselves, because I don't know anything about RBC in particular. However, I do remember seeing stickers and have hints of a SFU 350 campaign as I saw their list. So just setting off a bit of a red flag in potential investments.
Okay, Ashley, you're a POI.
Terribly sorry for this POI train, but I just want to make sure that I heard Jad correctly. As I believe he stated in his direct response, and again, I don't know how accurate this is, that it was nothing to do with fossil fuels, the particular investment that we were making, which, to be clear, is not reason to invest in a bank just because we're not investing in that one. But sorry, did you mention that the portfolio that you want us to invest in was for a government-backed security program?
Yeah, it's actually a GIC, so it's a guaranteed income certificate. A GIC is it's a money you invest with the government over the course of a fixed term. So
Oh, economic security, not policing.
no, not
Okay, just want to make sure we're not in violation
yeah,
of
no.
IP9 here. All right, all good. You can move
It's
on there.
economic security, not policing. It's a 5-year fixed term. Then again, I do have a list later on where I can list more facts about this motion, but we'll just do one by one until we reach my list.
Okay. I'm gonna take Jad, yeah, I'll take Jad's direct response. Ashley, if your direct response still stands, that's going to be Priyanka's. After that, I'm going to cut it off. This is still going to be technically, I'm still seeking unanimous consent here.
I redact my direct response.
Ashley,
I also retract I asked at my POI.
Priyanka,
Yeah, sorry, just like quickly. I'm not gonna act like I'm super familiar with investing, but I know that we're not directly investing in fossil fuels, but bylaw 25 part, like the second amendment, states that even indirect investments are limited to a cap at 5%. So I know we're postponing the motion, but if you could just like in the next like 2 weeks confirm that RBC, because I'm assuming our investment is with RBC, so we are investing into RBC, that no more than 5% of their gross revenue is from fossil fuel investments. Thank you.
oh boy, Jad, yeah, I'll take it. Then we're done.
Yeah, so our investment is actually going to be with a company called Canaccord Genuity, not with RBC. So the investment company is actually called Canaccord Genuity. It's a pretty big company known throughout the US and Canada. So wealth management company in and of itself. And the actual GIC itself is going to be with RBC through Canaccord Genuity. So it's an RBC GIC done so through Canaccord Genuity. So essentially what's going to be happening is we'll be investing with Canaccord, not RBC.
All right then. As for the actual seeking unanimous consent to postpone this or not, do we have anyone who dissents? I myself would like to abstain. I'll put that down. Anyone else? It does not look like so. Sorry, Liam, could you repeat? Yes, we're going back to seeking for unanimous consent. We went off on a bit of a tangent there. And this is going to be for postponing Jad's motion, which would be the RBC investment one, to our next council meeting. So right now I'm seeking, unanimous consent, and I'm giving time for anyone who wants to dissent. If they dissent, that means they don't want this motion to be postponed. And then I said I myself abstain from this. I hope that makes sense. It seems that we are silent. This means by majority, we would be postponing this motion. Very nice. Are we done with Chad's items? Ah, thank you very much, Samar. It's going to be this one. I think this should be the last one, submitted by MBB counselor. I move. Anyone care to second? Internal second. So whereas president, this is going to be painful to read. Whereas the president bypassed the Equity and Sustainability Committee and the Governance Committee in advancing a motion to remove the IPs from SFSS policy, whereas President Liam Fang, that's me, failed to meet the requirements outlined in the issues policy for making changes to them. For instance, Liam Fang failed in his duty to consult with the affected groups, in particular the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit Student Association, or an equivalent, which according to IP7 must be consulted and must endorse any changes considered in this issues policy. President failed to follow IP4, specifically 1D4, by not consulting with SFU Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance and the SFSS Accessibility Committee, making changes to this policy, whereas bylaw 7.8 states, without limiting the provisions in these bylaws, council may pass regulations further restricting the powers the executive committee may exercise in between meetings of council. Be it resolved to restrict the exec committee from bringing motions that amend, suspend, or remove the issues policy or any action to the effect thereof. Be it resolved that any motions or actions to the effect thereof which seek to amend, suspend, or remove these IPs must be recommended by both the Equity and Sustainability Committee and the Governance Committee before being considered by council. Be it finally resolved to direct the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers to investigate the actions of the president for any breaches of bylaw, policy, or issues policy relating to actions taken by the president to remove these issues policy. Okay, then. First of all, there is definitely no shot I can be here for voting, is there? Because this is a direct conflict of interest for me. Ashley, I'm looking for confirmation.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I suppose that is something I had considered, but yes, it would be a violation of R5.3K for you to vote on this motion.
I should probably excuse myself then if that's the case then.
Yeah, may I recommend passing chair to Sam?
Sam, would you like to do that?
Sounds good.
You're the host now. Okay. Wait, Sam, do you have my contact? Yeah, you have my contact in Discord. You call
Yes.
me when we're done with this stuff. Until then, I'm not going to be coming back in here. All right?
Sounds good. I will. Do you want me to call you or text you?
Please text me on Discord. Goodbye
Sounds
now.
good. Thank you, Henry. Now we are moving on to the first list on this motion. It is from the SF Purge counselor. Do you have a motion to amend?
Yeah, I do have a motion to amend. I wanted to amend the motion. Basically the last clause to be outlined. I'll input in the chat. But also I'm gonna be adding the following clause. So be it further resolved that any motions or actions to the effect thereof, which seeks to amend, suspend, or remove the issues policies must be recommended by both the Equity and Sustainability Committee, the Governance Committee, and as well as constituency and other student groups relating to relevant issues policies before being considered by council. And be it further resolved that the investigation includes communications between the president and the university to see what collusion took place, if any, for the removal of these policies. Thank you. I'll input in chat as well.
Thank you. For accessibility purposes, is it in chat? Please put it in chat.
Can I take a direct response?
Direct response from Ashley.
Cool. So I love the spirit of your amendment. I have some logistical questions. May I recommend that rather than making any changes have to be endorsed by what is a very broad category of all CGs and other related groups, that we instead change it to like a mandate to consult CGs and other related student groups, but then having any requirement for endorsement come from our internal committees, just to kind of not put too much, like that's a lot of groups that would have to pass motions for any changes, even good changes or additions. I understand, I wrote this motion in collaboration with Sam, and I understand that the reason is precisely because we want to protect the IPs, but my fear here is that we also couldn't make them better without talking to like 25 groups.
Actually, can I speak on this for a second? Give some more clarification.
Sure, can I finish my DR?
Yes.
I would also like to suggest that we entirely remove your be it further resolved clause, as that is covered by this motion already. And my concern would be claiming that the president may or may not be involved in collusion might bring us into some legal issues. And I'd much rather leave it way more open-ended to allow OCO to figure out if there has been any breaches in any way, shape, or form. Please let me know if you are amenable to any of my amendments to your amendment.
Before I have the SF Approach Council respond to that, I would like to state that there is a seat on the Equity Committee of the SFSS for every member, every constituency group of the SFSS. So by consulting equity, that means that all the constituency groups have been talked to relating to things. I know it isn't specific, but it does provide some communication, as well as if we're going through the policies, it already says that we need to communicate with them. So while I do understand the spirit of that amendment, it seems like it's just going to add another layer of confusion. Although I do also see your final further resolves clause. I, unlike Ashley, would be amenable to keeping it, but removing the part about collusion, because it seems like it's leading in a certain direction. But including the OCO investigation to include communications between the president and the university seems more than fair to me. SF Purge, your direct response?
Yeah, I think it was just for basically clarity and transparency, especially given how we ended up here today for 4 hours, and we shouldn't have been here today for 4 hours discussing trivial things. And I think I hear you, and I appreciate that you appreciate the spirit of the amendment, but also I think all these IPs were crafted with a lot of labor and a lot of groups that were involved, and I think to amend or strike it down, it should go through just as much as many people and as many groups input. I don't know if with the equity one you'd be able to have all the equity groups that are involved in a certain policy, and I think this was just a more comprehensive take just to make sure that whoever is in charge, be it this council or a future council, is just as thorough. I wonder what other folks think if they can list, but I definitely think we should keep the be it further resolved that the investigation includes the communications, but
I agree with you there. I just need to seek clarification. Who seconded the amendment from the SF Purge Councillor? Do you have a seconder for that amendment?
I don't believe there was one.
I second archaeology.
Thank you. Archaeology seconds. Just for a clerical point. And onto your POI, Ashley, and then onto the list from the quadruple S counselor.
Yeah, so I just want to make a quick POI here to actually read from the composition list for the Equity and Sustainability Committee, as I think this might answer some of your concerns here. Essentially, what I wanted to highlight about this composition is that representatives from student groups representing climate issues are noted, as well as representatives from independent student societies on campus representing social justice issues. There's also provisions for representatives from each constituency group, which includes constituency groups that are currently established and ones that may be established in the future. I understand that you want to have everyone kind of being looped in here, which is why I'm going to suggest that rather than making it a be it resolved clause that mandates a particular kind of endorsement from all of these groups, that instead we perhaps include in a whereas clause that those groups are a part of the consultation that is done with the Equity and Sustainability Committee, and perhaps add a be it resolved clause that mandates consultation with constituency groups, but not necessarily endorsement. My fear is that we would never be able to make any amendments to IPs, even good ones, if we have to get 25 groups to endorse it. But I would like to mandate consultation with relevant groups. But of course, that is already mandated in our policy. So perhaps merely a whereas clause indicating that that is already the case would be my recommendation. But that's now way more than a POI, so I will stop talking.
Thank you. As we don't allow direct response chains, I'm going to treat sorry, I've forgotten your name. I'm going to treat the SFPERCH counselors direct response as a list and move on to the quadruple S counselor.
Hey, unless I misunderstood something, I just have a few questions here. So this sounds like this would give a lot of power to a few people regarding anything relating to the IPs. This sounds like kind of really, it sounds like it sets a pretty dangerous precedent, like the amount of control that just a couple people have. Yeah, so just to confirm this, in its current state, any changes to the IPs have to be approved by the Diversity and Equity Committee, or yeah, just a confirmation would be nice on this.
Thank you. I know Ashley has a direct response, but I just want to provide some clarification. The normal process for the changing of policy goes through the relevant committee. For example, with the finance policy, which I was very involved in, is we changed it in finance, and then it went to governance, and then it was brought to council as a notice of motion, and then it was passed as a motion today. This motion here would just solidify and clarify that the process that we went through, like with the finance motion, would be the only process for the changing of issues policies, as is the structure of the SFSS and how it dictates in policy and in bylaw that how it is dictated in policy and bylaw. Thank you. I'm going to move on to Ashley's direct response.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Kind of similar, but I wanted to add a even more specific example that might help kind of illustrate the way our internal workings work here. So currently the governance committee is reviewing the member services policy. We are reviewing this because the member services committee recommended to us a bunch of changes, and that is, as Sam mentioned, the traditional way that we change specific policies. But one of the things that's actually happening here is because the governance committee has so many changes on top of the member services committee that we would like to make. I was actually really hoping the member services policy would be on today's agenda, but unfortunately it could not have been, as we actually have to send it back to the member services committee to seek endorsement on the changes that we are making to member services. So this just goes to show that that's the way SFSS traditionally functions. Whether or not it's solidified in policy is kind of ambiguous. So what this motion seeks to do is to say, hey, we have this section of policy called issues policies. The relevant committee who is in policy meant to oversee and review this policy, which is in this case the equity committee, ought endorse changes made to this policy, which would then go to the government, who has to essentially proofread those changes, either sending them back to equity or sending them to council as a notice of motion. This is the way all of our policy changes work. And at the end of the day, it still gives council the ultimate decision on any changes made. It just ensures that we are not sneaking behind the backs of committees and attempting to make changes in that way.
Again, following the no direct response chains, we will be considering the no direct response chains, but yours is the next one anyway, so if it was a list, it would be counted. Quadruple S counselor.
Cool. So just as a specific example, just make sure I understand this. Could there be a situation in which someone on council proposes a motion relating to IPs? It's run through the diversity and equity committee. For some reason they disagree with it, they don't like it. Can they block it from going to council? Or is it just simply the motion doesn't get the recommendation when it's passed to council? Like my question is, can these few people block a motion from getting to a voting stage?
I believe that is a yes, but I would see clarification from the VP internal. I'd also like to say all these people were elected at the beginning of the year to these committees. We chose who went on each of these committees.
I'm assuming, yeah. So technically the answer is yes. And I know that sounds very scary, and I want to explain briefly why it isn't as scary as you think it is. So essentially the basic premise, like Sam said, is in order to delegate work amongst council, we put different councilors on different committees to be in charge of certain sections of our operations. In this case, the equity committee has many people who sit on it, including myself, who oversee our equity policy here. And the basic premise is if you have a change to issues policies and are unable to convince the people whose entire job it is to know whether or not that's a good change to make, that it's a good change to at least discuss at council. Because remember, the thing that the equity committee has to endorse is that council should discuss it, not necessarily that council should vote yes on the change. So there's actually a large number of people on the equity committee, all of which were elected by us to sit on it. So there's a very real sense in which we've already kind of delegated that responsibility. But essentially it's a crucial checks and balance to ensure that we aren't just willy-nilly making changes, and that any changes we make are well thought out of ahead of time and not rushed. So if you have a change you would like to make to an issues policy, please email both myself and Priyanka as co-chairs of the Equity and Sustainability Committee.
SF Purge now has a list.
Yeah, I think I was just trying to, because currently not all constituency groups are represented on these committees, and I think it's only reasonable to have that outlined in writing, that when issues policies pertaining to one of these constituency groups, which are majority of which are equity seeking, that they are consulted. So I just wanted to be more direct, but I understand that you don't want to add bureaucratic layers. I just think it's a very important part of the process, and they're not necessarily. You can clarify that, Ashley. I might be mistaken. That the equity committees don't have all constituency groups.
Ashley, can you speak to that quickly, and then when you're done,
Yeah. They don't, but they could, if that makes sense. There is seats that are vacant for constituency groups to join, and I encourage you to do so.
POI from IO.
Just a quick question. I do believe that these committees have like historically laced on seats for each of those for the constituency groups. I know for a fact that equity does have like set seats for all the constituency groups. So isn't this a matter of internal elections rather than an SFSS issue?
SF Purge Counselor. I know it was supposed to be Thomas next, but in the interest of answering this, I will let you go next.
Yeah, I just think because when you're calling to question an issues policy, well, first of all, we have constituency groups have seats on council, but not all of them are filled. And I think when we're questioning something that relates to a certain group, it's only reasonable that we expect a very clear consultation of that said group. And I think it would be a process for them, if they're not already involved, that they join these equity. So that's all I'm saying. I think it is.
Okay, the confusion is that these groups already have seats. As long as they have counselors within the SFSS, they have guaranteed seats in this committee, if I'm not mistaken. The issue is most of the communication that's going to take place in the SFSS and these groups, in order to maintain proper autonomy, has to go between representatives, which would be the counselors for these groups. So as far as this bylaw, what it is saying, as far as what they're saying, what they're simply saying is that the discussion will be guaranteed to be had with the constituency groups, but the constituency groups also have to fill out the obligation of bringing a representative to fill these seats in the first place. So it's not that, so basically what I'm saying is that they will try to communicate, but there needs to be someone to communicate to. And
Thank you, Io. SF Purge Counselor, I think.
Yeah, I think Ashley clarified something, and I agree with this.
Okay, that sounds good, because I think there was a bit of all of us meaning the same thing, but saying different words, sort of stumbling around a dark room into each other. So I think that shed some light on it. Thomas, your list.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say is, although yes, we should consult both Equity City and Sustainability Committee and the Governance Committee, I'm not sure that we should sort of mandate it in a way that either committee could shut down a motion, or that it necessarily has to go through both committees before coming to council. Because one thing I've noticed is when you do have to go through multiple groups, oftentimes that can delay certain processes. So if we do need to change or add new issues policy or something, if we say we have to go through both committees, that would take a significantly longer time than if it was just brought straight to council. Though typically that would be the normal way to go about it. I don't know if it's necessary to go through both committees. Yeah. Also, lately we've been having, like, not just lately, for a while, we've been having issues with counselor involvement in getting quorum at both council meetings and committee meetings. So I don't know if this is really.
Thank you, Thomas. Moving on to Priyanka's direct response.
I understand like the concern of quorum, but I will say that the whole policy that came forward about the removal issue policies, it did not run through equity, and then thus far it didn't run through any CGs that its impacts. So the process is kind of more to ensure that there's some form of consultation rather than none. So like I'm not opposed to things coming to the floor. I understand like things can get slowed down, but when we're discussing policies that directly impact student groups, I don't think speed is always the most pressing thing. Like they should have some sort of voice. So I do agree And I also do agree with the amendment Ashley put in chat, that be it further resolved, issue policies for consulted with CGs and other relevant groups. But yeah, sorry, back to chair.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for discussing. It seems like the conversation has died down as this amendment has been put on. We now need to amend the amendment. This gets real
Can I
confusing.
take my DR?
Oh, yes, you can, Ashley. Sorry.
Oh, cool. I just wanted to respond, Wachi, first to SFPERG, but I'm going to respond to Thomas first real quick, and say, yes, it absolutely will delay making changes to the issues policies, and that's the point. There's a very real sense in which it's generally understood that changing big policies and like doing like making a little change here or there is fine. Doesn't have to go through everything. But one of the reasons why we're stopping that from happening is essentially we're revoking privileges here because such a big mistake was made. It's when we're making a big change, all of finance policy, all of issues policy, we need to make sure we are following proper checks and balances. We need to make sure that all the relevant groups have a say and are able to have their voices be heard. That is why we are deliberately wanting this to go longer. This is not to say that if we have a quick little grammar mistake in finance policy that we can't just bring that straight to the floor. That's fine. That's finance policy. But what we're saying is issues policies have been handled very recklessly and carelessly over the last month. And I would like to make sure that any changes we make to them are done so properly. So that's my response to you, Thomas. My response to SFPERG real quick is just to say, I think we've been speaking over each other this entire time. I have some logistical problems with your amendment. I would like to request that you retract your amendment formally such that I can list to recommend my amendment that I put in chat, which for context reads, be it further resolved that any changes, amendments, suspensions, or removals to the issues policies first be consulted with constituency groups and other relevant groups. I would then also like to include the part of your motion that Sam also agrees with, which is be it further resolved that the investigation includes communications between the president and the university. I will end the sentence there for reasons I've already outlined. That is what I would like to move to amend this motion as. So I would like to request that SFPERG retract their motion.
Just quickly, as the motion's been moved and seconded, we can't.
Yeah, I know. That's why
retract it.
that's why I'm requesting that. No, Sam.
Wouldn't it just be easier to amend?
Amending an amendment is very difficult, which is why I'm recommending SFPERG retract, which is something that they are able to do.
Could you please like type your amendment? Like, is it the one you listed above?
Yeah,
or-
it's the one I already put in there.
Okay, then I retract mine.
Can you read it out in its entirety just for everyone's?
I retract my earlier amendment, which is amending, which is be it further resolved that any motions or actions to the effect thereof which seek to amend, suspend, or remove issues policies must be recommended by both the Equity and Sustainability Committee, the Governance Committee, and as well as constituency groups and other student groups relating to relevant issues policies before being considered by council, and be it further resolved that the investigation includes communications between the president and the university to see what collusion took place, if any, for the removal of these policies. And I await your other amendment.
Sounds good. Ashley, can I also get your retraction of your second for that one? Just so that we're very clear, both the mover and the seconder have retracted.
Yes, I didn't think I seconded, but I'd retract anyways.
Oh, sorry, it was archaeology who seconded. Yep. It wasn't you who seconded.
Sorry,
Thank you so much. Just a clarification thing, Robert's rules. So, Ashley, can you type in your new motion?
I'm almost done.
The new motion reads, Be it further resolved that any changes, amendments, suspensions, or removals to the issues policy be first consulted with CGs and other relevant groups. Be it further resolved that the investigation includes communication between President Liam Fang and the university. Can I get a mover for this amendment?
VP Internal moves.
VP Internal moves. Point of information. I second. Point of information from the SF Purge Council.
Yeah, sorry, are we just leaving out the Equity Sustainability Committee?
No, I'm adding those.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's the motion that's Sam first amended on. Would you actually mind copying and paste that in chat again? And then it's the two things
And
that I'm
then-
adding.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Yes. Give me a second. I need to pull it up again.
I have it.
Oh, can you put it into the chat then? Okay. Are there any further lists or discussions on this motion? List from Quadruple S Councilor.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I appreciate the clarification on that. I think though what it comes down to for me is that it sounds like as a result of this, certain groups or individual people will have more power than others, which is really scary for me. At that point, we're talking about not having a democracy anymore. And now I think for me, this just goes generally speaking as to any issues that the SFSS deals with, whether IPs or other. And it sounds like something like this can be pretty easily manipulated in the future, as soon as you have not everyone, I guess, having an equal vote or an equal say, so to speak. Yeah, I think that's all.
Point of order from VP Internal.
The DR, not a point of order.
Directors.
Sorry. All I'm gonna say is what I'm gonna say here. I'm gonna say I agree that it is a problem to put power in the hands of the few. I think that's a big problem. I ironically enough think that's actually one of the big reasons why I'm suggesting this amendment is precisely to limit the power of executives to just unanimously make suggestions without proper consultation. I would argue this is a pro-democracy amendment, but I suppose we're going to have to agree to disagree. The big reason why you cannot direct response to a direct response, Tao, you can't do that. What I'm going to suggest, precisely to make our lives easier, is can we please vote on this amendment? And then if you have objections to the motion itself, wait until this amendment has passed or failed, just so we can keep this meeting moving. Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm going to call to question the amendment. Voting on the amendment. This doesn't mean, Tal, that you can't continue your discussion after. Just means that we get the amendment passed. Call to question for this motion. I'm seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please speak up now. Oh, I need a seconder on calling to question. Is there anyone to second?
Internal.
I heard internal first. Sorry, Ashley. Nancy gets this one. You can see her cheering in the background. Well, you can't. She's off, but she was. I'm now seeking unanimous consent for this motion. If there's any dissent, please speak up now. Yes, this is voting. This is voting on voting for the amendment. This is voting on ending discussion and voting on the amendment. This is only the amendment, not the motion, just to be clear. Tal, does that make sense? Sounds good. I've heard no other dissent since I asked for unanimous consent, so this motion is carried. We're now back to the main discussion. And as there are no other lists, we're moving back on to the C's counselor, the C triple F, no, quadruple S counselor. Sorry, Maple. Direct response, which I'm treating as a list.
Cheers, thank you. Yeah, so I guess in response to Ashley's comment that this should be more democratic, I disagree. I think, the issues that we were talking about today, whether they passed or whether they didn't pass, the system worked, right? We all voted, we all had our say. And I ultimately think that amending the system that we use today in order to give more power to specific people is setting a really scary precedent. Is ultimately my thought. I was gonna say something else. It's been a long day. That's all for now. Thanks, folks.
As someone who's very interested in our democratic systems, we do use committees in Canadian and American parliamentary democracy, and things do die in committees at points. It is a democratic process, or at least it's been used by both of those democracies. But on to Ashley's.
I'm so terribly sorry, Tal.
Ashley, I'm very sorry. We have no direct responses on direct responses.
That was not a direct response. That was a list.
If I'm treating it as a list, you're right. Sorry, on mine it looks like a direct response.
You said Tal was a list. Sorry. If not, I won't speak.
Tal was a direct response that I treated as a list. I'm gonna allow Io to go, especially because he had a list a while back and a lot of direct responses. It's then you and then Thomas. That's our speaker list right now.
Oh, okay. I get the sense of the main disconnect here. I think what I can get from what I was asking for is, instead of it dying at the committees, that it be a requirement that the proposal go through the committees first and then be brought to council as a whole, just in case that there are differing opinions, especially in the form as a notice of motion, which can then be taken back to the smaller groups for discussion there. So then it could be brought back and then council as a whole would vote on it instead of the vote simply staying at the committee level. Just how I'd like to confirm how far or close am I to what you're thinking for what?
Tal says exactly. Thanks. Thanks for that. Moving on to Ashley's list. Now on Ashley, you have the floor.
Cool, thank you. Terribly sorry for all that before. Also, I don't mean to keep criticizing you, Tal, but I think you seem to fundamentally misunderstand the way SFSS policy works. I need you to understand that I'm not changing our procedure here. I'm actually reinforcing the procedure we already do. We are a democratic society that delegates tasks to committees. All I am doing is mandating that we delegate the task to the committee. There's already bylaws in committees for all of these concerns, even the ones I was bringing up. All we are doing is stopping specifically executives from not speaking to these committees first. And specifically, we are stopping them from not consulting with students who are relevant on the issues. What we are not doing is stopping our democracy from functioning. All we are doing is stopping us from having 4-hour-long meetings where we debate a single issue the entire time. The purpose of this is to provide the necessary checks and balances of a democracy to ensure that a few who are more powerful amongst us aren't able to abuse their power and forcing us to make changes that are not properly consulted upon first. While I understand that this is a little unusual that we are mandating it so harshly, the reason for this is because the IPs were so carelessly handled. So we're providing an extra check and balance for the remainder of this council year to ensure that the equity committee is talked to first, as they should have been in the first place. You say that today our council system worked smoothly, but it didn't, because we shouldn't have been discussing this notice of motion today at all, as it should have been brought to equity first, and then governance. So all we are doing here is enforcing that we follow our own processes, which were already democratically agreed upon by us and the students. Yeah.
Thank you, Ashley. I understand there is another response. However, as both Ashley and Tal have said their opinions, and I don't really see too much of the opinions getting closer. I'm going to take Thomas's list, and then after that, I'm going to call the question.
Okay, Ashley, sorry, I'm gonna disagree with you there. Tal did point that the system did work, and I'd say that is true. Yeah, Liam did skip going through equity and governance committee and brought it to council, but still, we all clearly was voted against. So if you want to like say that, oh, it should have to go through committees first because it's following the right process, that is true. But at the end of the day, most people, like members from these committees and members from these groups that are affected by this decision, were present at the council meeting to voice their opinions. At the end of the day, when we have the council meeting, we have the entire council. So it's more than just a few people. It's a larger group. I think it's better that we still have this option to sometimes bring it to council. If we basically bring it to a committee and it dies in committee, sometimes if there's some change that needs to be made, they cannot be passed. And also, I think it was, although it did take quite a bit of time earlier discussing, I think it was overall beneficial for everyone to hear other people's opinions regarding these issues. So I don't think that we should necessarily force it to go through committees, and that we should allow things to come straight to council if that's necessary.
Thank you for your comments, Thomas. I'd just like to clarify the spirit of this motion was specifically to prevent any future action like that the president did at this meeting to amend on policies without talking to the various people affected from happening again. As such, I call the motion to question. Can I get a seconder?
External.
External seconds. I'm seeking unanimous consent on calling the motion to question. Pausing for Tal abstains. Pausing for anyone else. No further abstentions, so I'm now moving on to the motion itself. I will read out the motion in its entirety now. Thanks for your list, Joel, but we're not listing right now. We're just reading the motion and voting. The motion states, is titled Guidance on Issues Policy, whereas the President bypassed the Equity and Sustainability Committee and the Governance Committee in advancing a motion to remove the issues policies from SFSS policy. Whereas President Liam Fang failed to meet the requirements outlined in issues policies for making changes to them. For instance, President Liam Fang failed in his duty to consult with the affected groups, particularly the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit Student Association or equivalent, in accordance with IP7, must be consulted and endorse any changes considered to this issues policy. President Liam Fang failed to follow IP4, specifically 1D4, by not consulting with the SFU Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance and the SFU Accessibility Committee in making changes to this policy. Whereas bylaw 7.8 states, without limiting the provisions in these bylaws, council may pass regulations further restricting the powers of the executive
the executive committee may exercise between meetings of council. Be it resolved to restrict the executive committee from bringing motions that amend, suspend, or remove the issues, policies, or any action to the effect thereof. Be it further resolved that any motions or actions to the effect thereof which seek to amend, suspend, or remove these issues, policies must be recommended by both the Equity and Sustainability Committee and the Governance Committee before being considered by council. Be it further resolved to direct the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers to investigate the actions of President Liam Fang for any breaches of bylaw or issues, policies relating to actions taken by the President to remove these issues, policies. Now, it goes on to say, be it further resolved that any changes, amendments, suspensions, or removals to the issues policy be first consulted with CGs and other relevant groups. Be it further resolved that the investigation includes communications between President Liam Fang and the university. I'm seeking unanimous consent on this motion. If you dissent, please speak up now. Thomas dissents. Is there any other dissent? The quadruple S counselor dissents. I am waiting for any further dissents. Events abstains. Events abstains. Is there any further motion? Any further comments? There are no further comments that I'm hearing. As there are none, I am moving on. This motion was passed with 2 votes against. I will now inform President Liam Fang that he can rejoin the meeting.
While we're waiting for Liam to join the meeting, I believe the only thing left is Q&A, if I'm correct, right?
I am not 100% sure. Can I get clarification from staff on that? Yeah, President has joined the meeting, and as such, I am handing chair back over to him. Yeah, next is Q.
Nice. Okay. Have you recorded the entire thing when I was gone?
Yes, I'm the one recording.
Oh, thank goodness, thank goodness. Okay, just send the files over to me
I got it.
when they're done compiling. Wait, actually, I th I think you should continue recording. Now I think of it. It looks like you are. That's nice. All right then. Firstly, how did it go? Hello?
Yeah, Liam, I can hear you. I don't know where everybody else is.
Yes, Liam.
Yeah, I want to know how it went.
It went pretty well. There was a lot of discussion, some very good discussion, especially between the quadruple S counselor and the VP internal. And then there was an amendment from the SF purge counselor, which was later simplified and retracted and then re-added by the VP internal in a clear form. And then the motion itself was voted on with 2 dissents and 1 abstention. The dissents being VP University, quadruple S counselor, and the abstention being the VP events.
I see. I guess I could ask you for the full version of it later, but that seems fine by me. Q&A time. Do we have any Q&As? Yes, Ashley.
Hello, I do not have a Q&A. So perhaps this is pointless, but just in case our Q&A does go for the full half hour, I would like to move to extend the meeting to 8:45 to give us enough time to wrap up Q&A and adjournment, just in case.
All right then. Do we have any further Q&As?
That requires a secondary and a vote.
MBB
All
second.
right then. If MBB seconds, I will look for unanimous consent. And I'm also getting no dissent. Okay then. Do we have any lists for QA? Yes, Joel.
Hi, I just want to get your perspective on what happened. I know you weren't given a lot of time to express yourself, and maybe we can take this time to like actually ask you what exactly happened. Were you pressured to bring this up, or is there anything else that was going on? Was it just not being informed, or was it being informed? I just wanted to get your perspective on like how it transpired and why it was done so haphazardly in such a rushed manner. If you could help me out with that.
No. There were no evil groups forcing my hand. There's no evil puppet masters like controlling my decisions. This was purely by my own means. There was a disagreement from the start. Was it from being informed, lack of information? I think that's up to the listeners here to kind of decide for themselves. It's mainly just I'd say it's like a difference of opinions. That's just really all it sums down to. I have visions for the student union. Other people have their visions for the student union. It happens at IP10. It's good at some things, conflictive at others. It has its good sides. It has its bad sides. It has things that are good about it, and it also has things that haven't really been used well in the past. And so a solution that I mentioned, or it wasn't really a solution, it was a proposal that I mentioned was the complete removal of them. This wasn't any group forcing my hand. It's just it was something that I had decided. I decided it would have been good for society based on, reasons of A, B, and C. I think I mentioned political impartiality, whatnot, but I don't want to get into another discussion about that later on, especially since this motion has already been struck down. I will not go into it. But all in all, it's an opinion that I had, but I have no interest in supporting this proposal if the vast majority of this council doesn't want it. If we don't want it, it's not going to happen. At the end of the day, I care about what you guys want. And I am absolutely astonished to see the humongous amount of support against this motion, not just from the council side, but also from the external side. That some hurtful things were said in the chat, earlier on, but when it really come down to it, it takes quite a bit of effort from you guys, external students, to come into this meeting, rally up, organize your emails in such a way. You have to draft a template for it. You have to draft templates for multiple emails. You need to contact various people about this. This whole thing takes an astonishing amount of effort from you guys. And whether or not we agree or disagree with each other, I respect you guys for the sheer amount of you guys care about something. I respect the fact that you guys cared about something this much. And if you do care about something this much, which you've established that you do, then maybe it's not a huge good idea to take this away from you. I don't really think so. I mean, if it's that important to you guys and we all really don't want it, then by all means, we're not going to have it. That's really all there is in my head.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you for understanding. Like, you've been a champ. You took it really well. I'm sorry for about everything that was said about you in the chat. My question, I think that the part that was missed was why was it done in such a haphazard and rushed way instead of consulting people?
Oh, yeah. Consultation with groups, it's something that, first of all, there were two things that were haphazard. The first thing was I forgot to draft a proper notice of motion the first time. That was just because I forgot to actually formally do it. So then once I actually did it, then technically I was following the right procedure. Second was not talking to all the relevant groups beforehand. That was a tragedy. But then the reason why I didn't choose to do that was, first of all, in my head, it wasn't one of those changes where it should take months and months and months of time to produce, especially since I'm only going to be president for one more term, which is going to be 4 more months. I thought if I went through all the constituency groups, I could do that. If I did that, there was a bit of a time issue there, but more importantly, I'd be able to talk with all of the people who have opinions on this in a council meeting. In my head, if I went into a council meeting, talk with everyone there, everyone has their opinions to voice, it's a pretty cut and dry process. But then, now that this motion passes, and I guess it's kind of like it's like a hard and set precedent for future executives, which I guess is a good thing there. I mean, if you guys all want me to go through constituency groups and talk about it before bringing it to you guys and talk about it, then that has its merits. It also means that if these groups like equity and governments don't agree with it, then these proposals are never going to get brought up to council, which could also mean that councillors won't ever get to hear about it, whether or not they agree or disagree with the changes. It would mean the constituency groups hold a bit more power, but it will also mean that the process is cemented, which again has its good points, and I am fine with that. And if y'all chose to investigate me, buddy, I guess I will be fine with that as well. You will find nothing. You will find nothing. Come at me, fellas.
There's nothing against you. I think it's a good thing that happened, that we solidified the process, even for accessibility committees across BC. BC's mandated that half the people on any university or public accessibility committee has to be 50% people with lived experience or disabled, and they have to have one Indigenous person on it. So the fact that you did it this way is commendable, and I'm happy that people recognized that it's important to talk about people that are impacted directly, and get their opinions before you make changes, because most of you don't really bother to check things that are not in direct impacting your life. And I think it's a good thing that you guys made the right choice. That's it.
Yes. Okay, then. Sam, you have a list?
Yes, I wanted to say that oversight would be looking into things further as per the motion. And thank you for your clear view that there leave nothing tied here. Thanks for that. And just that further information will be clear after oversight does its investigation.
All right, SF Perg.
I retract my list.
Okay, then. I guess I can list. This is a question for Sam. What certain things will the oversight be looking for specifically? Will you be checking my hours in the work reports?
We always do that.
Oh, once again, you won't find much.
Although I would request that the November and December work reports be sent to me, as I've not yet received them. Those don't exist.
Oh, okay. All right then.
Other things that we're going to be looking into, specifically whether there was any communication between, as stated in the motion, any communication between you and the president. So I'll convene.
Wait, me and the president?
Of you and the university. You and the university, potentially anyone from the, for example, president of SFU, as I assume that's who mostly communicates with you, as you're the president of the SFSS.
Yes. And what happens if I can just confirm right now that we have talked?
Then I'd request that you send any communications to me as chair of the oversight committee. And also not to delete any communications.
I don't have records. This was a verbal talk.
Then we can bring you into the oversight committee and we can interview you on it.
Oh boy, that sounds exciting. Okay then. Do we have any other Q&As? It seems like we don't. Then I think we can end Q&A then. Okay, everyone. Let me take a look after Q&A. Straight to adjournment then. I move. May I get a seconder?
CSA second.
CSA seconds. I am going to be seeking unanimous consent. While there is no dissent, then I can call this meeting officially adjourned at 8:16 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone.
Liam, you have to.
What?
You have to vote on it.
I cannot hear.
I'm sorry, never mind. It was excuse. I was a mistake.